Chapter 26. Qiangwei lowered her head, not daring to look Yihao in the face. She hated this, especially because it made her feel abnormal and gave her an unspeakable impulse. He was clearly her enemy, and she should hate him, but Qiangwei closed her eyes, and her body began to feel strange. This feeling was really strange, so strange that it scared her. "Are you afraid?" Yihao's cold voice came from her ears like a devil in hell. She shook her head. "No, I'm not afraid." "Since you are not afraid, then look up at me," he ordered, powerful and domineering. She had no choice but to open her eyes, but still lowered her head. Yihao reached out and touched her cheek frivolously, and his cold fingertips brushed across her delicate skin as if it was electrified. She snorted softly, and her whole body trembled. She didn't know what was going on. He was obviously her enemy. Why? Yihao raised an evil smile at the corner of his mouth, and his hand slowly moved to her neck. She trembled even more violently. She could clearly feel his cold fingertips brushing across her skin, and the numb feeling spread throughout her body like an electric shock. She gritted her teeth and tried her best to restrain her inner desire and not let herself fall. Yihao put his hand on her waist and exerted a little force. She immediately frowned in pain, but did not dare to resist. Yihao looked at her forbearing appearance. The arc of his mouth became deeper, and his eyes flashed with a strange light. He took his hand back and picked her up. After he picked her up, she instinctively hugged his neck and closed her eyes because of fear. Her heart was beating like thunder drums, almost jumping out of her throat. She could hear his heavy and rapid breathing, as well as her own increasingly heavy and disordered breathing. Her chest rose and fell violently as he walked. Every step he took stepped on Qiangwei's sensitive nerves. Her heartbeat almost stopped, and the blood flow rate slowed down. She couldn't even think. Yihao put her on the bed and leaned over. His eyes seemed to be looking at an object with appreciation, satisfaction, greed, and some desire. When the two looked at each other, Qiangwei's pupils suddenly widened. His eyes were dark and deep, like a cold pond, as if they could swallow everything. At this moment, he was full of danger. He stared at Qiangwei, and the corners of his mouth were slightly raised. "Why? Do you want me to come?" His tone was as if he was saying that the weather was fine today. Qiangwei bit her lips, trying to keep herself calm and not show panic and fear. She took a deep breath. No need. She took the initiative to turn over and pressed Yihao down on the bed. Her eyes were firm and resolute, as if she was making a very important decision and would not allow anyone to question or refuse. He looked at her and said nothing. The room was suddenly filled with an ambiguous atmosphere. Rose closed her eyes tiredly. She didn't want to open her eyes and didn't dare to look directly at the man. Yihao reached out and stroked Rose's delicate and smooth face, revealing a smile. "Not bad, but the strength is a little weak." Rose's pretty face flushed, and she couldn't help but curse inwardly. Shameless. However, all the dirty words in the world seemed to be praises for the Abyss demons. The Abyss demons don't understand love and shame at all. In their concept, there is only killing and conquering. Only fighting can stimulate the ferocity in the hearts of the Abyss demons, and only killing can make them excited. Thinking of this, Rose felt a little powerless. She took a few deep breaths and calmed down her emotions. Then she raised her head and stared at Yihao with resentment. Yihao pinched her pretty face frivolously and said with a smile, "I'll give you a task." Rose bit her lip and nodded. "Release the Abyss demons and Abyss monsters in Juxia City to the world." Yihao's tone was indifferent, but there was an unquestionable domineering atmosphere. "What?" Rose's beautiful eyes widened in shock, staring at Yihao as if she had seen a ghost, and she couldn't believe what she heard. "Release all the Abyss demons and Abyss monsters to the world." This is going to turn the whole world upside down. But she knew very well that this was the fact, and for the Abyss demon, this was a trivial matter. Rose bit her red lips tightly with her pearly teeth, and she tried to restrain herself from losing control. She knew very well what the consequences would be if she did what Yihao said. But could she stop all this by refusing? Facts prove that she couldn't, because she didn't even have the qualifications to refuse. Her fate had long been firmly grasped by Yihao, and no matter what decision Yihao made, Rose had to obey. Yihao admired the complex and tangled expression on Rose's face, with a smile on his lips. The ending was already doomed. The Abyss demon will sweep the entire super god world. "Yes, master." Rose's voice trembled, and she seemed extremely unwilling, but she finally chose to compromise. Then, Rose returned to the form of a void demon and disappeared in the room out of thin air. Yi Hao glanced out the window, his eyes flickered, and he muttered to himself, "She actually wants to teleport all the abyss demons and abyss monsters in Juxia City to a country far away from China." Yi Hao knew Rose's intention very well, so as not to affect China and cause the Chinese people to suffer. After all, Rose also has selfish motives, hoping to delay as much time as possible in this way, so that China will fall later. How naive. Does she think that such a plan can delay time? Yi Hao snorted coldly, with sarcasm in his eyes. Although Rose's plan is good, this method is only a temporary solution and cannot change the current situation at all. In fact, there are already many bird and insect abyss monsters spreading outside Juxia City. The good show has just begun. On the other side, Juxia City H District. Qilin is opening the second abyss vortex through abyss sacrifice. Under her manipulation, the abyss vortex slowly emerged, and the terrifying pressure gradually spread out. Boom, a muffled sound. The abyss demon suddenly expanded, and countless blood-red mists rushed to the surroundings, instantly submerging the area. This area was shrouded in thick blood-red mist, making it impossible to see what was happening inside. In this mist, Qilin's ice-blue figure could be vaguely seen moving quickly towards the Municipal People's Hospital. Before, when she came to Area H for the abyss sacrifice, she noticed that He Weilon was maintaining order in the safe area near the Municipal People's Hospital. As her colleague and friend, Weilon could not let the other party become an irrational abyss monster. Of course, all she could do was to transform the other party into an abyss demon, and this was the only thing Qilin could do. She even didn't know whether Weilon was willing to transform into an abyss demon. If Weilon didn't want to, then she could only choose to force the other party to transform. The master said, "Doing whatever you want is what the abyss demon should do." Qilin's figure was like a blue shadow, quickly passing through Area H and heading straight to the Municipal People's Hospital. At this time, the safety zone centered on the Municipal People's Hospital gathered many citizens and soldiers. This group of soldiers was trying their best to resist the endless abyss monsters and abyss demons. Roar! Suddenly, a huge abyss demon broke out of the ground, roaring and screaming. Its head was hideous and ugly, and its face was full of fangs. Near this abyss demon, there were many corpses of humans and abyss monsters. Blood flowed on the ground, and the pungent stench was floating in the air. Kill it. The soldiers shot desperately with heavy weapons such as grenade launchers, rocket launchers, and heavy machine guns. Dense bullets and shells poured out like a storm, hitting the huge abyss demon fiercely. Boom! In the violent explosion, countless wounds burst open on the abyss demon, and the bright red blood spilled all over the ground. However, this abyss demon seemed to feel no pain at all, but attacked more frantically, trying to rush into the army soldiers and start slaughtering. Bang! Suddenly, at this critical moment, the tank's barrel roared and sprayed out hot and burning artillery fire, accurately hitting the abyss demon. Puff! The shells blasted into the demon's body, and the hot shells instantly melted the demon and blew it up completely. After dealing with the abyss demon, the army soldiers immediately surrounded it, helped the injured people who fell to the ground, and quickly retreated to a safe range. No, someone in the hospital has mutated. At this time, a soldier in charge of vigilance exclaimed. Read books every day during the 11th. Chapter 27. Quick, go to support. The leader immediately led people to the hospital. Inside the hospital, two abyss monsters were biting a nurse, and the nurse had been killed. Beast! A soldier roared, raised the grenade launcher, aimed at the abyss monster, and pulled the trigger. Boom! The fierce artillery fire blew the abyss monster away and threw it on the wall, smashing the hard reinforced concrete into spider web cracks. Ah! However, at this time, screams came from the hospital again. A few minutes later, the battle was over. The soldiers on the scene cleaned up the mess with a sullen face, carried the body that was eaten to only the skeleton, and left the hospital to deal with the body. After the tragedy in the hospital, the atmosphere of the entire Municipal People's Hospital became much more solemn. Everyone was silent, and their hearts were filled with grief and anger, because they all knew that death was at hand. He Weilon, who was maintaining order, looked at this scene with red eyes. Too many people have died here during this period of time. I wonder if Qilin is still alive now? Thinking of this, He Weilon couldn't help but worry. Suddenly, a voice sounded in her ear. Sister Weilon. Hearing this familiar voice, He Weilon's body froze, and then she turned her head and saw Qilin standing there, her beautiful eyes filled with complex emotions that she couldn't understand. Qilin, great, you're still alive. He Weilon breathed a sigh of relief and was about to walk over and hug Qilin. However, at this moment, Qilin suddenly stretched out her arms to stop her and showed a strange smile. He Weilon was stunned, not understanding what Qilin meant. Qilin, what's wrong? Seeing Qilin suddenly show that weird expression, He Weilon's eyebrows revealed doubts and asked in a low voice, however. At this moment, Qilin suddenly stretched out her arms and hugged her, and whispered in her ear, "Sister Weilon, come with me." Before He Weilon could come to her senses, Qilin pulled her and walked quickly to a remote street next to her. He Weilon was forced to follow Qilin and soon came to an apartment building. She became alert and felt that something was going to happen to her, so she asked carefully, "Qilin, what happened? Tell me first." "Sister Weilon, I'm sorry." Qilin's mouth drew a trace of evil charm of conspiracy, and then, before He Weilon could react, her right fist blasted out, knocking He Weilon unconscious. Qilin's mouth had a strange smile. Beside her, a ball of blood mist emerged from her body and drilled into He Weilon's body. With Qilin's help, He Weilon was successfully transformed into an ice demon. Hiss! He Weilon's eyes flashed with a cold light. Her scarlet tongue licked her lips, and a creepy swallowing sound came from the depths of her throat. She looked at the ice-blue scales on her arms and fell into silence. She knew that she had become a monster, and all this was caused by Qilin. Qilin actually turned herself into such a monster. He. Suddenly, He Weilon's delicate body trembled, and light blue smoke gradually rose from her body. The temperature around her dropped rapidly, as if she had fallen into an ice cave. She slowly closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, her originally dark pupils turned into a dark blue color, as bright as stars, giving people a mysterious illusion. She laughed softly. Her voice was hoarse, and it was as harsh as the friction of metal. "Sister Weilon." At this time, Qilin appeared in front of her again. When He Weilon saw Qilin's current appearance, she was slightly stunned. At this moment, Qilin's body was also covered with ice-blue scales, and a pair of ice-blue devil wings extended from her back. Compared with the previous appearance, it was completely different. "Qilin, how did you become like this?" He Weilon asked in despair. She never dreamed that Qilin would become a monster, and even turned her into a monster. Qilin was silent for a moment, and then she slowly said, "Sister Weilon, I'm sorry. All this is planned by me. If I don't do this, you will sooner or later become a monster who has lost your mind. In this way, at least you can keep your mind." Then, Qilin told her next plan in full. After listening, He Weilon was stunned. "You actually want to turn all the survivors into monsters like me now?" He Weilon looked at Qilin in shock. She could never imagine that Qilin would have such a crazy idea. "Qilin, are you crazy?" He Weilon shook her head palely. She couldn't believe that Qilin, whom she once knew, would have such a crazy side. Qilin didn't care at all and still explained calmly, "Sister Weilon, when you absorb the inherited memory of the ice demon, you will know why I decided this way." Inherited memory? Hearing this, He Weilon was surprised, not knowing why Qilin was so sure. But she vaguely guessed that the secret hidden in it was not simple. Then, with the help of Qilin, He Weilon completely digested the inherited memory of the ice demon. Endless abyss? Abyss demon? Abyss monster? He Weilon murmured to herself. Although she already knew Qilin's intentions, she felt more confused and frightened. Is this world really hopeless? The abyss demon, that is an existence that can destroy everything. He Weilon was unwilling to believe the facts she knew. She even suspected that Qilin was not the real Qilin at all. However, the facts were there. In her memory, there is indeed a part of the inherited memory about the ice demon. And the most shocking thing is that this part of the memory is real. Is this world really about to usher in the end? He Weilon felt extremely bitter, and she felt unprecedented despair. "Sister Weilon, this catastrophe is not something that human power can resist. Only by becoming an abyss demon can you have a chance to survive." Qilin's voice sounded again. He Weilon took a deep breath and tried to suppress her inner emotions. "I know." She nodded, then looked up into the distance. The sky has really changed. Next, with the help of He Weilon, Qilin began to transform the survivors in the safe zone of the Municipal People's Hospital into ice demons in large quantities. At the beginning of the transformation, they still needed to be careful. As more and more humans were transformed into ice demons, the entire safe zone quickly fell. The army stationed here was no match for Qilin at all. In just a few hours, the entire safe zone was occupied. Then, Qilin led tens of thousands of newly born ice demons to kill other safe zones. Even in this process, she did not forget to sacrifice the abyss to open the abyss vortex. The result of this is that the gifts of the abyss will swarm towards Yihao. Chapter 28. Inside the villa, Yihao felt the endless gift of the will of the abyss. He knew that he was about to be promoted to a middle-level demon. He knew everything Qilin did. It was normal to have selfishness. As long as it did not affect his interests, he would not bother to care about what Qilin did. However, Qilin was quite courageous. She even tried to transform all the survivors in Juxia City into ice demons. Well, he liked it. Yihao was not worried that these ice demons would cause any trouble. Qilin did this, and he was still the biggest beneficiary. What's more, these ice demons were still just consumables. When he needed it, he could devour these ice demons together to achieve himself. At this time, Yihao's strength reached the critical point, and he turned into the Time Shadow Demon again. Boom! In an instant, the whole world shook suddenly, and a terrifying power swept across the sky, causing the clouds within a radius of 100 miles to disperse. Roar! Yihao roared to the sky, and a bloody flame burst out of his body, and the whole demon form was bathed in blood flames. His strength rose steadily, and it stopped growing when he reached the middle demon growth stage. And just when Yihao broke through, an extremely huge shadow enveloped the entire sky. This shadow was black, and it had a black scale armor. It stood tall above the clouds, like a god descending, exuding endless majesty. It looked down at all living beings, and its eyes were filled with contempt for the world. A pair of huge demon wings stretched out, covering the sky, and it seemed that even the sun's rays were swallowed up by it. This is the manifestation of Yihao's projection. His eyes swept around, as if penetrating the void, perceiving every inch of land. The appearance of Yihao's projection caused extreme panic, fear. Countless people knelt on the ground and trembled, not knowing what to do. The breath of this behemoth was too strong, giving people a suffocating fear. Who is this? Qilin looked up at the huge phantom above the sky. Her beautiful eyes widened, and the depths of her pupils were filled with uncontrollable fear. The body of this phantom was like a mountain, and the breath it exuded made people tremble, and they couldn't help but feel fear in the depths of their souls. Who is he? At this moment, all the survivors in the entire Juxia city, regardless of gender, age or young, were crawling on the ground, their eyes full of awe. Yihao looked down at all living beings and saw countless people kneeling on the ground and trembling. Their faces were full of fear, panic, and terror, just like ants seeing gods. At this moment, Yihao had an inexplicable strange feeling in his heart. It was as if this was the honor he should enjoy. Yes, Yihao did enjoy this honor. After all, he had paid countless hardships along the way. Now that he finally broke through, Yihao was naturally happy in his heart, but he did not show any excitement, but was indifferent. Is this the power of a mid-level demon in its growth stage? Yihao murmured in his heart. His body was undergoing a transformation and becoming stronger. Yihao stretched out his right claw and clenched his fist. Suddenly, a dark shadow appeared on his fist, and a destructive breath was released from it. At this moment, he seemed to represent death and destruction, which was unbelievable. Yihao could clearly feel that his strength at this moment was enough to crush his previous self. Is this the master? Qilin looked at the familiar figure above the sky, and her beautiful eyes flashed with shocking brilliance. The strength and pressure displayed by Yihao at this moment were countless times more terrifying than when she was favored before. Is this the true strength of the master? Qilin, do you know him? Qilin heard Qilin's address to the terrifying phantom, and she raised her eyebrows and asked, "Well, this is my master." Qilin told the truth. Qilin was shocked. She didn't expect that the terrifying existence in front of her was actually Qilin's master. How strong is he? Qilin asked in shock. I can't tell how powerful the master is. Qilin pondered. She couldn't judge how powerful the master was, but Qilin was very sure of one thing. That is, the master was extraordinary and absolutely terrifying. Ahem, Qilin, have you been? Qilin said hesitantly. Although she didn't speak, the meaning of her words was very clear. Qilin pursed her lips and didn't explain. She shook her head and didn't continue talking. Qilin didn't answer, and there was no need to guess. Qilin had guessed the result. A blush appeared on her pretty face. But soon, Qilin's beautiful eyes revealed a complex color again. She probably guessed how Qilin became what she is now. She felt a little complicated and didn't know what to say. After all, it had already happened. Qilin, you. Hualon hesitated to speak and finally sighed, her expression lonely. I'm fine. It's good like this now, isn't it? Qilin smiled brightly, extremely beautiful and stunning. Her ice blue hair was draped over her shoulders, and the demon wings fluttered behind her. Qilin looked very calm, as if she had already seen through everything in the world. Seeing this scene, Hualon opened her mouth, wanting to say something but stopping herself. In the end, she said nothing and could only remain silent. She was in a complicated mood, but in the end, she could only blame it on the trick of fate. And behind Qilin and Hualon, tens of thousands of ice demons were suspended in the air, looking at Yihao's projection in awe. The sense of oppression from the essence of life made them tremble in their hearts. What a terrifying breath! Who is he? This level of breath fluctuation is simply too terrifying. The bodies of these ice demons were trembling. They had never seen Yihao, but just based on the projection that Yihao had just projected, they felt fear and timidity. This is the pressure from the soul. Even though it is transmitted from a long distance, it still makes these ice demons tremble. Chapter 29. Boom boom. Yihao's will spread, rendering the entire sky blood red. The red mist rolled, sweeping in all directions like a tsunami. Kill, destroy, plunder. Yihao's voice was icy and piercing, containing infinite murderous intent. With his roar, the already chaotic situation in Juxia City suddenly became violent, and countless survivors who were already on the verge of mutation instantly mutated into abyss monsters. They were covered with thick blood mist, extremely cruel, and frantically attacked all nearby life forms. These blood mists can corrode all living things and make them fall into a bloodthirsty state. Run, run. Someone mutated into a monster again. Help. One survivor after another screamed and fled in panic. Many people were unable to dodge and died on the spot, swallowed by the abyss monsters. Hiss. What the hell is that? What a terrifying monster. It's over. It's all over. Countless survivors had dull eyes and pale faces. The appearance of these abyss monsters interrupted the originally peaceful situation, causing heavy losses in major safety zones. Quick, retreat. The head of the safety zone issued an order to lead the army to protect the survivors and retreat. However, these abyss monsters did not give them any chance. There were too many of them, and there was nothing that could resist their attack. Bang, bang. Blood splattered, and minced meat flew. Corpses fell one after another, and scarlet blood flowed on the ground, which was shocking. A survivor had his head bitten off by the abyss monster, and his soul was swallowed together. Qilin's face changed slightly when she saw this scene. She didn't expect the master to suddenly take action to speed up the process. This disrupted her plan and made her at a loss. Qilin's heart was full of worries. Could it be that her actions made the master dissatisfied, so he took action in advance? What's wrong with you? Seeing Qilin's brows suddenly furrowed, Hualon, who was standing beside her, looked at Qilin in confusion. She could clearly feel Qilin's inner anxiety. She didn't know what happened to make Qilin so anxious. Qilin shook her head and didn't say anything. It would be best for her to ask the master in person about this question. She looked up and stared at the tall and majestic figure in the void. However, since the master didn't explicitly stop her from doing this, he should have acquiesced, right? After all, with the Abyss contract, everything about her was under the control of the master. Thinking of this, Qilin secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Roar, roar, roar. A series of roars sounded in Qiangwei's ears, shaking her eardrums. Qiangwei was seen floating above the sky, and the illusory demon wings were gently waving. Behind her, translucent illusory tentacles were entangled with many abyss monsters. How could this happen? Qiangwei looked at Yihao's projection in the sky, with a trace of panic and uneasiness in her eyes. She was preparing to take these abyss monsters to America across the ocean as planned. This would at least relieve some of the pressure on China. Who would have thought that she would make such a big fuss before she even set off? The number of abyss monsters has skyrocketed to hundreds of thousands, nearly 1 million. If so many abyss monsters pour into China, it will be a devastating blow to the entire China. If it is allowed to spread, the entire Chinese order will collapse and fall. Could it be that he knew what I was thinking and did it on purpose? Qiangwei felt that this matter was more and more difficult, and even made her feel some inexplicable fear. What are you afraid of? Yihao's cold and low voice suddenly sounded in her mind. At this moment, The whole world seemed to be collapsing, and a majestic majesty swept over. That was Yi Hao's will. He can really peek into my thoughts. Qiangwei's pretty face turned pale, and her pupils shrank sharply. She didn't expect Yi Hao to have such an ability to see through her true thoughts. Yi Hao snorted coldly. He could feel Qiangwei's mood and knew her inner struggle. I don't care what you want to do. It's just that you need to weigh what to do, Yi Hao said lightly. His tone was calm, but there was an unquestionable domineering. Whether you like it or not, you must follow my orders. I don't want my plan to be affected by you. Yi Hao's voice was very light, like a whisper, but it seemed like an order, which made Qiangwei unable to resist. Qiangwei was silent for a moment, and silently disappeared into the air with these abyss monsters. And America on the other side of the ocean will usher in the arrival of the abyss monsters. At this time, Yi Hao's projection had disappeared over Juxia City. In a secret research base near Juxia City, the dead silence was suffocating. Liang Bing sat at the table, staring at the screen in front of him. The screen showed the scene in Juxia City. Under the bloody sky, the abyss monsters were rampant, like locusts passing through. This was a doomsday scene. The entire city had turned into ruins. Corpses were everywhere, and wailing was everywhere. Report. HG8 safe zone has completely fallen. Report. TH3 safe zone requests fire support. Report. XC zone safe zone urgent call, request support. Report. C zone urgent call, request support. Report. One message after another was delivered to Liang Bing's hands. Every once in a while, an area was in danger. We can't delay any longer. Liang Bing frowned. She stood up from the chair, and her beautiful eyes swept around the people. Everyone, we may not be able to leave here alive, but we can never give up like this. Liang Bing looked at everyone seriously and spoke slowly. Everyone's eyes gradually dimmed when they heard this. Although they are all elites in the army, their strength seems particularly weak and useless in front of such a large and ferocious abyss monster. These abyss monsters are too powerful, and they can't kill these guys by their own strength, unless nuclear weapons. But once nuclear weapons are detonated, the entire Juxia city will suffer. These abyss monsters will also be completely destroyed and cease to exist. Chief Liang Bing, do you mean to start the ultimate plan? Someone said. Liang Bing listened, did not deny. She nodded gently. A cold light flashed in her eyes. The ultimate plan, as the name suggests. Even if it costs a heavy price, all monsters must be wiped out. It is already the last resort. Once it is used, these people will be killed or injured. Not only Liang Bing and others, but all soldiers and ordinary people in this war will lose their lives. However, if the ultimate plan is not activated, the number of those monsters will increase exponentially and quickly occupy the entire city in a short time. This is a devastating disaster for the entire China. Only by sacrificing the lives of some people can this disaster be solved. Chapter 30. Ultimate Plan. Okay, that's right. I agree. Soon, many officers reached a consensus and agreed to launch the ultimate plan. The ultimate plan is the last insurance. Then let's start it. Liang Bing sighed. A trace of sadness flashed across her eyes. At this point, the destruction of Juxia City is inevitable. But it's better than the fall of the whole country. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. One by one, Dongfeng intercontinental nuclear missiles were launched into the air and headed straight for Juxia City. This is an attack that is enough to raise the entire Juxia City to the ground. This time, Liang Bing is desperate and wants to eliminate those monsters at all costs. Even the secret research base where she is located is within the bombing range. Once the ultimate plan is launched, it will not be stopped. However, Liang Bing has no choice. The degree of mutation in her heart has become more and more serious. She looked at the bloody lines on her arms and the red light in her eyes, and she felt that her reason was being devoured. This is a very scary phenomenon. Liang Bing knew that if she continued like this, her body would be corroded sooner or later. She didn't want to become an irrational monster. The ultimate plan has been launched. It's time for me to get going. Liang Bing smiled bitterly and shook her head. She was ready to die. She had no way out. She stretched out her blood-stained hand, took out a pistol from the drawer of her desk, and held it tightly in her hand. I don't know what will happen if Qin knows that I'm dead too. Liang Bing laughed at herself, then loaded the bullet and aimed at her temple. Bang! She pulled the trigger, and her brains splattered. Liang Bing's eyes widened. A trace of desolate arc appeared at the corners of her mouth, and her body fell backwards and fell to the ground. However, Her body was mutating at a very fast speed. The originally snow-white and slender legs gradually grew a layer of exoskeleton full of barbs. The chest deformed and swelled, turning into two bulging balls of flesh, round and full of elasticity. The ferocious demon wings spread out from the back, as black as ink. Liang Bing died with her eyes wide open. Her soul watched her body mutate and was eroded by the abyss. At the same time, sporadic gunshots were heard in the secret research base, and many people chose to commit suicide. At the moment of their death, their bodies were also quickly eroded by the abyss and became a member of the abyss. Then, their souls merged with their new bodies and became new abyss demons. This may be an alternative destination for them. On the projection screen in the conference room of the Super Seminary, it was showing the launch of the Dongfeng intercontinental nuclear missile. Alas, Comrade Liang Bing is a good comrade, but unfortunately, she still couldn't stop the monsters. Yes, it's a pity. A sigh sounded in the conference room. Everyone fell silent, and a sense of powerlessness spread in their hearts. Everyone knew what the implementation of the ultimate plan meant. That meant that millions of people would lose their lives. But what else can we do? Once the ultimate plan is launched, there will be no way back. The only way is to completely wipe out all the monsters. Comrade Wukong, do you think the nuclear bomb can succeed? At this time, Mr. Huang, who was sitting in the main seat, suddenly asked. The other generals turned their heads to look at Sun Wukong in black armor. They looked expectantly, wanting Sun Wukong to give an answer. Because, if nuclear weapons cannot completely destroy those monsters, I am afraid that the end of the world has really come. Sun Wukong glanced at everyone and felt depressed. Dukeo and Liang Bing were both good friends of his for thousands of years. Their sacrifice made Sun Wukong feel a little uncomfortable. After all, they had fought side by side and defended the Earth together. However, Sun Wukong also understood that this disaster must be overcome. Otherwise, the Earth is really over. It's hard to say. After all, although nuclear weapons are powerful, they may not be able to kill those monsters. Sun Wukong's answer made everyone look regretful. They thought Sun Wukong would say, nuclear bombs should be able to destroy them, but now it seems that Sun Wukong is not optimistic. Alas, Comrade Wukong, if it still doesn't work, then we will act according to the plan we made before, and we must be fully defensive. Huang Lao sighed and said, well, Sun Wukong hesitated for a moment and nodded slightly. At this point, there is no more way. Comrades, let's wait for the results next. I hope the nuclear weapon will succeed. In the meeting room, the atmosphere was dull. Huang Lao slowly picked up the teacup on the table, took a sip, slowly closed his eyes, and waited for the final result. The other officers stared at the projection screen, praying in their hearts that nuclear weapons can destroy all monsters. At the same time, in a mansion somewhere in Juxia City, Yihao was leisurely drinking fine wine and listening to music. That group of ants actually wanted to use nuclear weapons. How stupid. Yihao put down the cup in his hand and smiled faintly. Nuclear weapons can indeed deal with abyss demons, but it depends on what level of abyss demons. With his current strength, even if he stood still and let the nuclear weapon explode, he would not be hurt at all. Therefore, nuclear weapons pose no threat to Yihao at all. However, Juxia City is his flesh and blood pasture, and he certainly does not allow nuclear weapons to destroy Juxia City. These are all the nutrients for his growth, and Yihao naturally has to protect them. Therefore, Yihao decided to take action himself and give these ants some shock from the abyss demons. Then, he disappeared in the mansion out of thin air. And when Yihao appeared again, he had already arrived above Juxia City. At this moment, Yihao's will spread out and enveloped the entire city. Rumble. The void trembled, lightning and thunder roared, and dark clouds rolled. The sky seemed to collapse, dark and depressing. The violent momentum swept across the fields, shocking everyone. Those abyss demons and abyss monsters were also alarmed. They looked up at the sky and felt an inexplicable throbbing. Roar. Abyssal monsters roared to the sky. Their eyes were bloodshot. Suddenly, a roar spread throughout the sky, shocking the world. The next moment, under the horrified gaze of all the abyssal monsters, Yihao's form quickly changed, turning into a 100-foot-tall time shadow demon. The time shadow demon was black all over, and complex runes were engraved on its exoskeleton, like dragon patterns, containing tremendous pressure. As soon as he appeared, it caused a violent vibration, and the entire Juxia City seemed to tremble. Yihao's eyes were bloodshot, filled with bloodthirsty luster. A wisp of blood surrounded him, making his figure even more majestic. Chapter 31. It's him again? It's so big. Is humanity finished? Everyone in Juxia City was terrified. Yihao's figure was so terrifying that he was like a mountain in the sky. This made everyone feel desperate, especially the ordinary people. They were just ordinary humans. They couldn't even beat an abyss monster, let alone this terrifying existence. Oh my God, how could there be such a terrifying monster? Who on earth is this? Is this terrifying monster really a creature from Earth? Ordinary people in Juxia City were full of fear, and those soldiers were also pale, cold all over, and even trembling. Yihao's breath was too terrifying. Just a little bit of fluctuations were emitted, and they were scared to the ground. This was too terrifying. Even if it was just a little bit of pressure, it still made them terrified. Qilin, what is your master going to do? He Weilon asked Qilin, who was transforming a group of survivors into ice demons. Her face was pale, her body was trembling slightly, and she was frightened by Yihao's terrifying pressure. I don't know. Qilin shook her head, also a little nervous. The master made such a big noise. Wouldn't he be ready to overthrow Juxia City? If so, it would be terrible. However, Qilin also knew that the master had a domineering personality and never allowed others to disobey. Qilin couldn't stop it either, so she could only watch this scene silently. In the meeting room of the Super God Academy, everyone looked at the picture of Yihao on the projection screen in shock. Their pupils suddenly shrank, and their hearts beat wildly as the figure of this monster was so terrifying. It was even bigger than an aircraft carrier. Although they had seen Yihao's projection before, it was far from being so real. What on earth is this thing? An officer swallowed his saliva, his voice trembling, full of disbelief. This scene overturned his cognition. How could this world have such a terrifying monster? This kind of monster should not belong to the earth? Another officer murmured. I guess, maybe it's an alien creature from another civilization. A general reasoned. Alien creature? Hearing this, the other officers were stunned, and then suddenly realized. After all, with the development of science and technology so backward today, it is hard for anyone to believe that such a monster would suddenly appear on the earth. The only explanation is alien creatures. Only the vast universe can breed such a terrifying monster. No matter what, this guy must be eradicated. Old Huang put down the teacup and spoke in a low voice. That's right. His threat is too great. He must be eradicated. Otherwise, all of China will perish. Other officers also echoed. The existence of this monster has already threatened the entire China, so it must be eradicated as soon as possible. Sun Wukong stared at the terrifying Yihao and said seriously, this monster is extraordinary. I suspect that nuclear weapons may not be able to cause fatal injuries to him. Sun Wukong has extremely rich combat experience. He can see that the strength of this monster is extraordinary and not so easy to deal with. After all, nuclear weapons cannot cause fatal injuries to his indestructible body. So, this nuclear weapon may not kill this monster. This is impossible. Hearing Sun Wukong's words, the others widened their eyes and showed incredible expressions. You know, how powerful is the destructive power of nuclear weapons? Even if this monster has a defense against the sky and can block the shock wave of the nuclear bomb, it can't withstand the high temperature of hundreds of millions of degrees Celsius at the center of the nuclear explosion, right? However, these words were said by Sun Wukong. He is one of the top strongmen in China, with unparalleled combat power, and will not brag about it. If this is true, then things will be troublesome. Huang Lao frowned, with a worried look on his face. Nuclear weapons cannot kill this monster, but this monster will definitely wreak havoc and destroy cities. Thinking of this, his scalp numbs. Anyway, the nuclear bomb has been launched, and we can only pray that it will work on this monster. The general spoke in a deep voice, with a serious face, obviously not hopeful about this result. On the other side, Yihao was suspended in the void, looking down at the vast world, with a cold arc on his lips. Since you want to play, I will play with you. Buzz. Suddenly, he stretched out his arms, and a terrifying suction force burst out. In an instant, all the Dongfeng intercontinental nuclear missiles flying towards Juxia City stopped, and were dragged by a terrifying devouring force. The number of these Dongfeng intercontinental nuclear missiles is very terrifying, dozens of them, and each one contains a terrifying equivalent. If these dozens of Dongfeng intercontinental nuclear missiles explode at the same time, I am afraid that the entire Juxia City will be wiped out. And now this scene, like a movie special effect, is presented in front of everyone's attention. What is this? Everyone was dumbfounded, with horror on their faces. Those Dongfeng intercontinental nuclear missiles were actually controlled by someone, paused in the air, and looked well-behaved. Rumble. Just as everyone was surprised, these Dongfeng intercontinental nuclear missiles exploded instantly, and endless flames bloomed. As gorgeous as fireworks in the Grand Era, groups of terrifying mushroom clouds rose up and covered the sky. The power of these explosions was so great that the entire Juxia city was in a violent sway. However, that was all. Chapter 32. On the sky, a demon claw was like the hand of a giant god descending from the sky, and its shadow covered the entire Juxia city, blocking out the sun and the sky. Each knuckle of the claw seemed to be condensed from endless darkness, revealing an evil and terrifying aura. Dark purple energy flowed on its surface, jumping like a flame, and making a low and majestic roar. In the palm of this demon claw, the mushroom clouds that had been raging in the sky seemed to have become playthings and were easily grasped. Those mushroom clouds rolled and twisted in the palm of the demon claw, as if they wanted to break free, but they were powerless to break free. The demon claw began to slowly close, as if a giant was clenching his fist. As the claws closed, the mushroom clouds began to tremble violently, and the energy they released gathered into violent torrents in the palm of the demon claw. Under the control of the demon claw, these energy torrents gradually became docile and no longer raged everywhere. Silence. Silence. The huge Juxia city suddenly became silent. Everyone stood there in a daze, staring at Yi Hao in the sky with astonishment. It was terrible. The power of this monster was simply devastating. There were dozens of nuclear bombs. He actually caught them all in his hands. This scene made people feel desperate. Although if this monster did not stop the nuclear explosion, they would die in the nuclear explosion and their bodies would be gone. However, their current situation was not optimistic. There were monsters all around, and they could not escape at all. What's worse is that they didn't even have the strength to resist. Everyone was stunned. Qilin, Huailon, and a group of ice demons were also stunned in the same place, looking stupidly at the terrifying existence in the sky. Is this the master's strength? Qilin opened her mouth wide and stared at the scene in front of her, her face full of shock. She had never imagined that the master would be so powerful, simply invincible. If nuclear weapons can't do anything to the master, then who else in this world can hurt the master? Huailon's beautiful eyes also widened, and her pretty face was full of disbelief. Qilin's master is too powerful. He can destroy dozens of nuclear bombs with just a wave of his hand. This kind of strength is simply against the sky. She thought to herself, is this the true strength of the Abyss Demon? At this moment, all the ice demons looked at Yi Hao in shock and couldn't believe their eyes. They had never met such a terrifying guy, just like a god between heaven and earth. No, that's not right. He is a more terrifying existence than God. He is the king of demons and the lord of demons. Swish, swish, swish. The next moment, these ice demons knelt down on the ground in unison, extremely pious, as if they were saluting some supreme existence. Qilin looked at this scene with a complicated look. She understood that these ice demons were worshipping her master, which made Qilin feel complicated. After all, these ice demons were transformed by her hard work. However, the master made these ice demons convinced with a casual move. This gap made Qilin feel frustrated, especially when she saw these ice demons being extremely respectful to Yi Hao. She felt an inexplicable sense of loss. Sure enough, power is the eternal truth. The master has an extremely strong strength, so these ice demons are naturally willing to submit. Huang Lao and others were shocked by the scene on the projection screen. Sun Wukong was mentally prepared. However, he was still shocked, because nuclear weapons are not a joke. Once detonated, the entire Juxia city will be destroyed. However, the monster controlled these Dongfeng intercontinental nuclear missiles with just one hand. This is really scary. This kind of strength is simply despairing. With his ability, it is okay for him to bear it or escape, but it is absolutely impossible to grasp the nuclear explosion with his bare hands like this monster. Thinking of this, Sun Wukong was in a serious mood and looked at Yi Hao with a trace of fear. He knew that he would face an extremely terrible enemy. Yi Hao stood in the air, overlooking the entire Juxia city. In his field of vision, Juxia city was full of thick and pungent blood-red fog. These blood-red fogs enveloped the entire Juxia city and were gradually spreading, eventually covering the entire Juxia city into a bloody purgatory. I wonder what a nuclear explosion tastes like, Yi Hao said as he sent the nuclear explosion energy firmly controlled in his right claw into his mouth. As soon as these energies entered the abdominal cavity, they merged into Yi Hao's body crazily, causing his body to tremble violently. Roar! A roar resounded in all directions, and Yi Hao's body was full of brilliant blood light, which became more and more dazzling, like a blood-colored sun, illuminating the entire world. He actually swallowed the nuclear explosion. How is this possible? Sun Wukong, who observed this scene, suddenly shrank his pupils like needles, staring at Yi Hao on the projection screen with horror, his expression horrified. This monster is so terrible. It actually ate the nuclear explosion. Is this still a living thing? This completely subverted Sun Wukong's cognition. This is equivalent to eating the nuclear explosion as a meal. Huang Lao and others were even more shocked by the majestic figure in the picture, and their hearts were horrified. They had never seen such a terrifying existence. What's more frightening is that this terrifying creature seems to be constantly absorbing the energy of the nuclear explosion, as if it is improving its strength. It's over. Huang Lao and others were as pale as paper. They suddenly felt that they seemed to have made a fatal mistake. That is, the nuclear explosion seemed to make the monster even more powerful. Damn it! How can there be such a terrible existence in this world? Huang Lao gritted his teeth, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He was now extremely regretful, and his intestines were almost green with regret. He wanted to use nuclear bombs to kill the monster, but ended up capsizing in the gutter. The other generals also looked pale, and they had a premonition of the horror that they were about to face. Although these nuclear bombs could not threaten the monster would definitely remember what happened today. At that time, they would inevitably suffer revenge, and such consequences were not something they could bear. With this thought in mind, these generals collapsed in their chairs. This kind of despair suppressed them and made them unable to breathe. Chapter 33. Comrade Wukong, do you have the confidence to deal with that terrifying existence? Old Huang recovered and asked in a deep voice. Whether I can beat it or not, I will fight it. Sun Wukong clenched his fists, and his fighting spirit soared to the sky. The monster's strength is indeed strong, but Sun Wukong is not a coward. He would rather die in battle than live in humiliation. Hearing this, Old Huang and others felt even more heavy in their hearts. Wukong said this. Doesn't it mean that Wukong has no confidence to compete with that terrible monster? Thinking of this, the hearts of many generals twitched again. They panicked even more. Boom! In the center of Juxia City, thunderous sound waves spread, deafening. Seeing that Yi Hao's pressure rose again, the strength that was originally only in the early stage of growth has now reached the peak of growth. Huff! Suddenly, his aura shook, and a majestic momentum swept away. Crack! In an instant, the entire Juxia city was shaking violently, as if it could not bear the breath of Yi Hao. At this moment, his breath climbed to the top, almost reaching the limit. Not bad. Yi Hao nodded with a smile, sensing the surging power in his body, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. This nuclear explosion tastes really good, barbecue flavor. As he said, Yi Hao's figure flashed and disappeared into the void. Next, he was ready to sacrifice the entire Juxia city and let it be completely eroded by the abyss. And at the moment he left, Sun Wukong and others looked nervous. They could clearly see that Yi Hao's strength had soared again and had reached a more terrifying level. They seemed to see that in the near future, China would fall into hell and all living beings would be destroyed. And the initiator of all this was that mysterious and terrifying existence. Who, Comrade Wukong? What should we do next? Huang Lao took a deep breath and couldn't help asking. The others also turned their heads to look at Sun Wukong. Now that Takeo and Lianfeng are gone, they can only rely on Sun Wukong to resist this mysterious creature. After all, among those present, only Sun Wukong is the most powerful and can be called the guardian of China. Sun Wukong frowned. He couldn't understand how this guy could absorb so much nuclear explosion energy. You know, the energy generated by a nuclear explosion is very terrible, even just a little bit. It is enough to make people disappear in an instant. But now this guy is good, absorbing so much nuclear explosion energy, but not hurt at all. Sun Wukong raised his eyes and glanced at everyone, saying, "What are you afraid of? Anyway, sooner or later you will die. Instead of being timid and living in disgrace, it is better to fight this monster." Hiss. Hearing this, everyone gasped. Fight with this terrifying creature? They couldn't believe it. This guy can even withstand nuclear weapons. How can he fight? They have no way to deal with him. Thinking of this, everyone's heart was filled with fear and despair. They all knew that with their current strength, they were no match for Yi Hao, and they didn't even have a chance to escape. However, even if they died, they would never retreat, because they were all soldiers. Soldiers should take the defense of the country as their responsibility. If they are afraid of fighting today, are they still qualified to be soldiers? Thinking of this, the morale of these generals suddenly rose. Their eyes were red, their hearts were depressed, but they still stood up straight. Kill! Defend our Chinese honor to the death. Kill! Everyone raised their arms and shouted, and their morale was high. Sun Wukong was also full of passion. He clenched his fists suddenly, and the strong power burst out, making the air faintly explode. At this moment, he finally found his former passion. The momentum is good, but too weak. At this moment, a teasing voice came into everyone's ears, making them shudder. Who is talking? Is there anyone else here besides himself? Who? Many generals were alert to the surroundings and shouted. However, no one stood up, which made them even more panicked. Here, don't look for it. Suddenly, an angel wearing dark silver armor broke through the window. This angel has a beautiful face. Her skin is snow white. Her features are delicate, especially her skin, which is crystal clear, as delicate as a baby, and so delicate that it is enviable. She holds a flaming sword, and her figure is graceful and slender, like a fairy from heaven descending to the earth. A pair of white wings spread out, extremely holy. Her figure is flawless, her chest is surging, her slender and soft waist is slender, and her two straight long legs are even more fascinating. In particular, her hot and seductive posture and temperament are more like a fairy falling from the ninth heaven. As soon as she entered the house, she immediately attracted the attention of the whole audience. Is this an angel? Seeing this sudden appearance of the angel, everyone was stunned, and then their faces changed wildly. Angel. Western mythology exists. Her appearance shocked everyone. Don't be nervous. I'm not your enemy, nor am I sent by your enemy. Seeing everyone in the audience on guard, she calmly explained. Huh. Sun Wukong, Huang Lao and others were stunned when they heard this, and they all looked at the angel. Not an enemy? Then why did she break into the window? Let me introduce myself. My name is Angel Zhuai, from Angel Nebula. Angel Zhuai said lightly. Her tone was as smooth as water, making people feel close. After hearing her explanation, Sun Wukong and others suddenly realized it, but new doubts arose. Where is this Angel Nebula? What is the intention of this Angel Zhuai? Could it be related to the monster that appeared in Juxia City? Sun Wukong pondered for a moment, then asked, What are you doing here? Angel Zhuai looked Sun Wukong up and down with a smile on his face. I know you, Sun Wukong. You are the fighting Buddha, with super genes and the body of a Shenhe beast. More than 1,000 years ago, when I came to Earth, I observed you through the eye of insight. Chapter 34. Oh. Sun Wukong raised his eyebrows slightly. Why are you observing me? Angel Zhuai smiled. I am observing you to evaluate whether you meet the standards of justice order. Justice order? Sun Wukong snorted. I walk the world, help the weak, eradicate evil spirits, and maintain world peace. Isn't this justice? Angel Zhuai shook his head and didn't argue with him. People at different levels of civilization naturally have different understandings of justice. She came here for more important things. But she didn't have time to waste time with this fighting Buddha. Angel Zhuai continued. My goal of coming to Earth this time is to destroy evil. According to the data detected by the Eye of Insight, an extremely evil source of darkness has appeared in Juxia City, and its existence has violated the justice order. This evil creature must be completely eliminated, and in the process of eliminating them, it is likely to affect the lives of innocent people. You have the right to know that I came to Earth with the idea of saving the world. At this point, Angel Zhuai's pretty face was solemn and dignified. This scene moved everyone present. They originally thought that this angel suddenly broke in and wanted to kill them. Unexpectedly, she came with the idea of saving the world. Thinking of this, everyone could not help but stand in awe. Although they did not understand how credible the reason for Angel Zhuai's so-called saving the world was, everyone understood one thing. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. They need the help of this mysterious angel. Upon hearing this, Sun Wukong instantly opened his fire eyes to scan Angel Zhue's data. After checking her data, Sun Wukong frowned, judging from the data he detected. This Angel Zhue couldn't even beat him, let alone fight against those sources of darkness. But he thought about it. This angel came to the earth. She must have a trump card. In this case, she might really have a way to deal with that monster. Thinking of this, Sun Wukong nodded. Okay, what are you going to do? I will carry out a fire bombing on Juxia City. Just don't let anyone get close to it. Angel Zhue said lightly. Fire bombing? Everyone was at a loss when they heard it. What is a flame bombing? Don't worry. I know you are worried. Don't worry too much. Our angel civilization can even defeat Morgana, the most evil demon king in the known universe. What is a mere evil existence of a pre-nuclear civilization? Angel Zhue raised his head slightly, his tone full of pride, as if he didn't take anything seriously. Everyone was confused again. Even the strongest demon king in the known universe can be defeated. How awesome is this angel civilization? Is it really not necessary for us to take action? Sun Wukong asked with a frown. Although this angel's words were very annoying, she was kind after all. Angel Zhue shook her head. No, if I can't even deal with this group of scum, what's the point of maintaining justice and order? At this point, she glanced at Sun Wukong. You just need to stay here and wait for the result. Before the voice fell, Angel Zhue shook his wings, and the whole person flew into the air, turning into a beam of light and disappearing. Seeing this scene, Sun Wukong couldn't help but frown. Angel Zhue left, and Sun Wukong and others fell into silence. They looked at each other and showed hesitation. This Angel Zhue was too weird. She said she could destroy the monsters in Juxia City. Is she trustworthy? Wukong, what do you think? Huang Lao suddenly asked. This guy is pretty good. Sun Wukong's eyes flickered, and he said in a concentrated voice, but if she only has this kind of strength, she may not be able to escape death. Wukong, what do you mean? Huang Lao's expression changed slightly. Maybe she has some backup, but... Sun Wukong paused. I hope she can create a miracle, otherwise, we have to find another way. Huang Lao nodded and agreed with Sun Wukong's guess. They have no choice now, they just hope that this strange angel is not just a show. Let's see the result first. Sun Wukong sighed and focused his attention on the screen again. There, the blood mist in Juxia City has completely covered the entire city, and the strong smell of blood permeates the entire air, exuding a strange atmosphere. At this time, Yihao is making arrangements to completely erode Juxia City. When Juxia City is completely eroded by the abyss, any living being who steps into it will be eroded by the abyss. Even the gods are no exception. Yihao grabbed it casually, and tens of thousands of abyss monsters were immediately taken by him and thrown around Juxia City. Buzz, a mysterious wave came. All the abyss monsters eroded by the abyss merged into the underground of Juxia City. In an instant, endless blood-red light surged in Juxia City, like a small blood moon. Roar! The shrill and piercing scream resounded through the sky, which was creepy. The blood mist rolled, covering half of the sky, and the gloomy atmosphere enveloped the entire Juxia City. Roar! The shrill screams became more and more sharp, making people's scalps numb. Everyone present was horrified, because the blood mist was rolling faster and faster, and more dense. In the end, the blood mist formed a surging river. The blood was rolling, as if boiling, and it was steaming violently, and a terrifying momentum filled the sky. Streams of blood flew out from the blood river, eroding all the creatures that had not fallen into the abyss. In an instant, one creature after another began to mutate, becoming bigger, taller, and stronger. Their bodies were twisted and mutated. Their facial features gradually became hideous, and blood flowed from the corners of their mouths. Roar! A violent roar sounded, and a huge abyss monster with bulging muscles stood up, roaring to the sky, and the fierce power was soaring to the sky, which made people shudder. Near that abyss monster, one abyss monster after another stood up. Their eyes were scarlet, revealing a cruel and bloodthirsty breath, and they all looked up at the outside of Juxia City. There are more fresh and delicious prey there. Chapter 35. The blood mist is getting thicker and thicker, and the number of abyss monsters is also increasing. If this continues, the entire Juxia City will soon be eroded by the abyss, and all living beings will fall. Qilin looked at this scene with a calm look. She has tried her best. She spent a lot of energy and time to transform the tens of thousands of ice demons behind her. The only thing that comforted her was that in this process, she devoured a lot of abyss monsters and raised her strength to the lower demon growth stage. However, this is far from enough. Now, the number of abyss monsters in the entire Juxia city has reached millions and tens of millions. After all, it is not just humans who have mutated into abyss monsters. Even these abyss monsters are devouring and fighting each other, absorbing each other's essence and increasing their own strength. If this continues, it will not be long before Juxia City will become an abyss paradise and a world of abyss monsters. Qilin saw the seriousness of the situation and couldn't help but frown, feeling a little annoyed. With her current strength, no one except the master can subdue her. However, if she wants to do something, she still needs the master's permission. Qilin, why don't you form an ice demon army? At this time, Qiangwei suddenly proposed. Qilin was stunned when she heard it, and then shook her head. This requires the master's consent. I don't think he will refuse. He didn't stop you from transforming the survivors into ice demons, so he must have tacitly agreed to your behavior. Qiangwei analyzed, his eyes shining. This is a good idea. I think you can try it. So, Qilin pondered for a while and hadn't made a decision yet. Yihao's voice sounded in her mind. Build a demon city with Juxia City as the center and recruit those ice demons into the city guards. Listening to Yihao's instructions, Qilin exhaled lightly, and her eyes lit up. She knew that the master must be aware of her every move. Yes, master. Qilin took the order, dispatched troops, and began to prepare for the construction of the demon city. At the same time, Angel Qiangwei was suspended in space. Her white wings flapped gently, allowing her to hover in place without moving. Her beautiful face had a serious expression. Her seductive miniskirt clung to her curvy body. At this moment, she was communicating with Angel Yin through a secret communication. Sister Yin, the source of the evil on Earth has been found, and I am preparing to implement the flame bombing plan. Angel Qiangwei spoke slowly, reporting the information she had just collected to Yin and explaining her plans. Well, Qiangwei, thank you for your hard work. Yan's voice was a little charming, but it was a little softer than usual, and her tone was full of concern for Angel Qiangwei. Be careful, don't be stubborn. Retreat in time when you encounter danger, and I will send troops to support you. Sister Yin, this is not the first time I have come to Earth, not to mention that the current Earth is just a pre-nuclear civilization. Although the source of evil is terrible, it is not difficult for me. Angel Qiangwei made a solemn promise, and it was obvious that he did not take this matter to heart. Angel Yin also didn't take this matter to heart, but just told Angel Qiangwei to be more careful. Angel's arrogance made her not bother to pay attention to ordinary affairs. Even when facing extremely important things, she still looked indifferent. After all, the angel civilization has been dominating the known universe for so many years and has long been accustomed to looking down on the mundane. After the two women talked for a while, they ended the communication. Then, Angel Qiangwei tightly grasped the flaming sword in his hand, and the sword body flashed with a fiery light, as if it contained endless energy. She took a deep breath, and then resolutely turned on the flame bombing mode. Swish, 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 accompanied by a burst of rapid sword sounds. The flaming sword instantly burst into dazzling brilliance, as if a blazing star was burning in the dark. The sword tip spurted out a blazing light column formed by the convergence of stellar energy. Boom! The blazing light column was like a world-destroying fire, piercing through the void and sweeping across space. Those meteorites that were originally floating in the universe were instantly blasted into slag under the bombardment of this light column, turning into pieces of rubble, falling on the ground, stirring up pieces of dust. Then, the light column even went straight to Juxia City, with the power to destroy everything. Under the reflection of this light column, Juxia City looked extremely small and fragile. In the meeting room of the Super God Academy, Sun Wukong, Huang Lao and others looked at the terrifying and boundless scorching light column on the projection screen, all with solemn expressions. Is this the power of an angel? This level of attack is enough to cover the entire Juxia City. Old Huang was shocked, with shock flashing in his eyes. I hope this Angel Qiangwei can eliminate all the monsters in Juxia City. The others nodded, staring at the projection screen. Hoping that Angel Qiangwei could complete this task, Sun Wukong frowned and clenched his fists, with a vague worry in his heart. In his opinion, this level of attack could not pose a threat to the terrifying existence. If that's all, the angel is at most going to send someone away. I hope she has a backup plan. Boom! The violent explosion sounded in my ears. There were bursts of low thunder in the sky, as if the sky was torn apart. The dazzling light illuminated the entire earth, covering a radius of thousands of miles, as if being in a furnace. The wind was howling, the electric snakes were raging, and a terrifying breath spread. Countless abyss demons and abyss monsters looked up at this amazing scene and roared angrily. Roar! The abyss demons bared their fangs and claws, their eyes were bloodshot, and they roared wildly. They were huge, like giants, wearing black exoskeletons and exuding a violent aura. And those abyss monsters also had different forms. Some looked like humanoid creatures, some were hideous monsters, some had wings on their backs, and some were on all fours. In short, whether it was a human-shaped abyss monster or a monster-shaped abyss monster, they had basically the same characteristics. That is cruel and bloodthirsty. These abyss monsters roared wildly, venting their inner violence. In their view, the attack of the angel chase was a naked provocation. This was an insult to them. Damn ants, dare to challenge the great abyss demon. We're going to eat it. Kill. Destroy. The abyss demons roared, their scarlet eyes filled with blood, and the desire to kill occupied their hearts. Qilin, who was directing her ice demons to build the demon city, also saw the flaming bombardment from the angels. But her pretty face remained calm, as if all this had nothing to do with her. Anyway, with the master here, she didn't think this level of attack would cause any harm to Juxia City. The blazing light column in the sky was getting closer to Juxia City, and the destructive atmosphere it brought was getting more and more intense. Chapter 36. At this time, some flying abyss monsters took the initiative to rush to the sky to fight against the extremely terrifying light column. Bang, bang, bang. With a burst of dense roars, all the abyss monsters that tried to block the flames were turned into fragments. Hey, 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 Qilin, this light column is getting closer and closer, and your master doesn't seem to have any intention of taking action. Qilin was extremely anxious, looking at the blazing light column gradually approaching Juxia City, with a strong fear in his eyes. Qilin was a little puzzled, wondering why the master didn't take action. However, she quickly thought of the answer. The master should be testing me. Qilin narrowed her eyes slightly. In this case, I must let the master feel my strength improvement. Buzz. Instantly, Qilin's cold abyss demon body burst into a dazzling ice blue light, and a suffocating cold current burst out of her body. This cold current was like a surging river, and in an instant it turned into a huge ice crystal shield. Countless complex and mysterious abyss runes were engraved on the shield, and an inexplicable wave spread out, making it hard to destroy. Qilin raised her palm and pushed it gently. The ice crystal shield suddenly expanded 100 times, slammed into the hot light column, collided with it, and set off layers of ripples, and finally resisted the terrifying light column. Crack! A series of tiny cracks emerged, covering the surface of the ice crystal shield, and it seemed that it would collapse at any time. Seeing this, Qilin couldn't help but secretly breathe a sigh of relief. If the master took action, this intensity of attack would definitely be easily disintegrated. Then, she increased the energy input, and the cracks on the ice crystal shield healed at a speed visible to the naked eye, and it was restored to its original state again. As expected of Qilin, this defense is simply against the sky. Qilin's beautiful eyes widened, and her face was full of admiration. Haha, it's just a trick. Qilin raised her lips, quite proud, and continued to control the ice crystal shield and slowly moved forward. Although the blazing light column could cause damage to the ice shield, it could never break through its defense. Because the frost power of the cold abyss demon was extremely strong, this level of attack could not really destroy her shield. Strange? Sun Wukong frowned as he looked at the picture on the projection screen. Comrade Wukong, what's wrong? Huang Lao noticed the change in Sun Wukong's expression and asked. Logically speaking, this level of attack, considering the monster's ability to swallow dozens of nuclear bombs and cause nuclear explosions, cannot cause any threat. Why is this ice crystal shield just deadlocked with the light column? Sun Wukong was slightly confused. Although the power of the blazing light column was terrible, based on his understanding of the monster, such a situation should not occur at all. Hearing this, Huang Lao and the generals were also stunned. That's true. After all, they had witnessed the terrifying nuclear explosion being swallowed. Is it possible that the monster was injured after swallowing the nuclear explosion? Suddenly, Huang Lao had a flash of inspiration and said a guess. Everyone was stunned when they heard his words. Injured? It seems, it is indeed possible. After all, No one can guarantee that a nuclear explosion of that level will be completely intact. But even if it is injured, what does it matter? With the powerful strength of the monster that can swallow dozens of nuclear bombs, even if it is injured, it is enough to sweep away any existence. Sun Wukong shook his head and rejected this guess. What's more, the monster can swallow nuclear explosions to become stronger. Sun Wukong's words made everyone fall into silence. That's right. The monster can become stronger by swallowing nuclear explosions. Let's wait and see. Sun Wukong looked at the ice crystal shield on the projection screen with a serious look. On the other side, under the ground of Juxia City, Yihao manifested his true demon body and accepted the gift from the abyss. After the entire Juxia City was eroded by the abyss, he quietly lurked 3,000 meters underground in Juxia City. He began to use the gift of the abyss to advance. This process was very smooth, without any waves or troubles. After Yihao absorbed this gift, his strength had reached the middle demon, mature stage. Compared with the growth stage, the mature time shadow demon has more powerful power. Yihao could clearly feel the surging power in his body. He even had the illusion that he could punch through the earth with one punch. Yihao exhaled a breath of turbid air and stretched his time shadow demon body. I don't know what's going on up there, making such a big noise. Yihao's eyes were slightly cold, and he murmured. He could clearly sense that there was a terrifying breath transmission 1,000 meters away from the ground, and he could vaguely perceive that two powerful energy fluctuations were colliding. Of course, this strength is relative. With Yihao's current strength, the two energies are not even enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. He instantly knew the general situation through the abyss contract on Qilin. Then, Yihao released his will and explored the space. Instantly, he captured the information he wanted. This is Angel Chase? Yihao's heart moved slightly. This familiar yet unfamiliar angel's short skirt and golden big back hair made him miss it a little. Door-to-door service again? What a good person. To be honest, the little angels of this angel civilization are not ugly, and they are all beautiful. Especially the white and slender legs under the short skirt, which are just like mutton fat jade, smooth and attractive. At that time, the entire angel civilization will be transformed into an abyss demon. TSK. Yihao smiled evilly in his heart. Swish. His will suddenly changed, like a big net, covering the area of Angel Chase for hundreds of miles. In an instant, everything was under control. Well, we can't let her run away. Yihao grinned, flapped his wings, and turned into a black shadow with a roar and rushed out. So the existence that blocked his way forward, whether it was soil or rock, was all shattered and annihilated. In this world, there is nothing that can stop him from moving forward. In space, Angel Zhuwei frowned slightly. Originally thought that the source of evil could be easily solved, but unexpectedly, an unexpected situation occurred. The flame bombing was actually blocked by an ice crystal shield. At this moment, Angel Zhuwei felt a little uneasy, because, according to the detection of the Eye of Insight, this ice crystal shield was not released by the source of evil that could swallow the nuclear explosion. She seemed to have misjudged the target's strength. However, now that things have come to this, she will not back down. Chapter 37. Start the double flame bombing mode. Angel Zhuwei took out a flaming sword from the arsenal again. She held the sword with both hands, and her right hand kept the posture of releasing the flame bombing. The flaming sword on her left hand began to gather stellar energy, and layers of fire waves swept over. Buzz, the next moment, the flaming sword burned with red flames, emitting scorching heat. Whoosh! Instantly, a sharp and piercing sound resounded through the sky, and the flaming sword burst into red light, shooting a beam of flame at the giant ice crystal shield with terrifying destructive power. The power of this attack was also extremely terrifying and could destroy the entire city. Such a move was absolutely destructive. Boom! Amid the violent collision, the flaming beam hit the ice crystal shield fiercely. Crack! The tough shield was ultimately unable to withstand the double flame bombing and began to crack with dense cracks. Qilin held on, gritting her teeth, her pretty face pale. She didn't expect the enemy could launch another attack of the same power. It caught her off guard. However, Qilin did not retreat at all, but showed a stubborn expression. Because this was related to the test of her master. Well, at least that's what she thought. Hold on! Qilin shouted, desperately gathering the power in her body, pouring it into the shield, and continued to resist. When Sun Wukong, Huang Lao and others saw this scene, they were immediately refreshed. They didn't expect that the Angel Zhuai could launch an attack of the same power. This surprised and excited them. As long as it works, they don't expect to solve the enemy with this attack. They stared at the battlefield intently. Soon, the ice crystal shield was covered with cracks, and it seemed that it would break at any time. Break, 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 Huang Lao muttered in his heart. Bang! Suddenly, the ice crystal shield exploded. Ice cubes were surging all over the sky. A huge monster broke through the ice crystal shield and rushed towards Angel Zhuai under the flame bombardment. This guy was Yi Hao. With his current strength, the flame bombardment could not hurt him at all. It's the master! Qilin breathed a sigh of relief. She knew that the master must have discovered the enemy attack long ago. He was just testing her just now. Now that she saw the master appear on the battlefield, Qilin was finally relieved. I don't know if the master is satisfied with her performance just now. Qilin's thoughts were flowing in her mind. I hope I didn't disappoint the master's expectations. How is this possible? Angel Zhuai was shocked, and her pupils suddenly shrank, as if she had seen something incredible. Her heart was full of shock and doubt, as if the whole world overturned her cognition at this moment. Boom! The power of the flame bombardment still fell on Yi Hao's body. However, when this force came into contact with his exoskeleton, it seemed to be blocked by an invisible barrier and was instantly offset by 8 or 9 points. The remaining power was resisted by his body. Yi Hao was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, he rushed to the side of Angel Zhuai. He raised his right claw and swung it violently, bringing a sharp gust of wind. Angel Zhuai was shocked, but reacted very quickly. She immediately swung the flaming sword in both hands and cut out 2 sharp sword lights. Bang! The two clashed, and a shocking explosion broke out. The violent power swept in all directions. Crack, crack, the flaming sword was shattered into pieces. Angel Zhuai's eyes widened in shock. She didn't expect the opponent's physical strength to be so terrible that he smashed the flaming sword of the flaming level with one claw. Moreover, the opponent's attack speed was as fast as lightning, so she had no time to react. Not good. Angel Zhuai's face changed horribly. The strength of this enemy was too terrifying. Even if she tried her best, she still couldn't feel any weakness of the opponent. She made a mistake and underestimated the strength of this source of evil. She opened the Eye of Insight, but found that she couldn't see the details of the opponent at all. Not only that, in the scan of the Eye of Insight, the opponent's energy fluctuations were extremely terrifying, and even vaguely, even she trembled a little. This shocked Angel Zhuai even more. She had never encountered such an opponent. It seemed that the opponent was not a creature from the known universe at all, but a terrifying creature from another universe. No, I can't stay here any longer. Angel Zhuai secretly cried out that it was not good, and immediately prepared to retreat. The angel wings behind her flapped, turning into a golden light and quickly leaving the place, however. How could Yi Hao let her escape? Wanna leave? It's too late. Boom. A dull roar sounded. Then, a dark shadow that covered the sky, and the sun suddenly enveloped Angel Zhuai. Angel Zhuai's heart trembled, and she subconsciously wanted to dodge. Unfortunately, before she moved far, she was wrapped around her ankle by a dark iron chain. Angel Zhuai tried to struggle, but found that the terrifying power contained in the iron chain made it impossible for her to break free. At the same time, Yi Hao changed back to human form and appeared in front of her, looking down at her coldly, like a god. Little angel, why are you running? Didn't you come to me on your own? Yi Hao grinned. His eyes looked at Angel Zhuai's perfect body with bumps and curves. Angel Zhuai glared at Yi Hao, gritted his teeth, and his silver teeth creaked with hatred. Although she was angry, she was also filled with strong fear, because the physical strength of this evil source was so terrifying that it was simply unbelievable. Especially, he could easily destroy the flaming sword of the flaming level, which made her feel deeply shocked. She must pass this information back before this evil source kills her. Angel Zhuai did not hesitate and decisively connected to the dark plane system and prepared to upload the data. Yi Hao watched her actions with interest, as if he guessed her plan. A strange arc rose at the corner of his mouth. He quietly used the shadow dimension to isolate Angel Zhuai from the dark plane. Swish! Angel Zhuai was forced to stop uploading data. This made her face pale. What happened? Is there something wrong with the dark plane system? She looked around in shock, but she couldn't find any clues at all. What did this evil source do? It's time to end, little angel, Yi Hao said calmly. He grabbed Angel Zhuai and held her in his arms. Then he slapped her on her round buttocks. Pa! A crisp sound rang out. Angel Jue's pretty face instantly flushed, and she was so ashamed and angry that she almost wanted to spit fire. Hole. Angel Jue had lived for thousands of years and had never suffered such humiliation. This was simply a trampling on the dignity of angels. Yi Hao ignored Angel Jue's abuse, and while ravaging Angel Jue, he said playfully, "I advise you not to move anymore, otherwise what will happen next? I guarantee you won't be able to bear it." Chapter 38. You dare. Angel Jue said coldly. Snap. Yi Hao slapped Angel Jue's round buttocks again. Angel Jue almost fainted. I like stubborn captives the most. The more disobedient they are, the more I want to discipline them. Yi Hao had a hint of amusement at the corner of his mouth. Angel Jue was a little overwhelmed. She couldn't believe that a high-level guard angel would fall to the point of being bullied by the source of evil. You humble, evil creature. Our angel civilization will not let you go, Angel Jue said stubbornly. Snap. Yi Hao slapped Angel Jue again without any hesitation. Angel Jue was stunned. Angel civilization? Don't worry, sooner or later, your queen Kesha will also surrender to me. Yi Hao's mouth had a wicked arc, looking at Angel Jue's exquisite and charming face, and the proud look that tempted people to commit crimes. Yi Hao suddenly looked forward to the moment when Kesha knelt in front of him. What expression would Angel Jue have? It must be very interesting, right? But before that, he should teach Angel Jue a lesson first. Angel Jue was so angry at Yi Hao's words that she wanted to tear him apart, but she couldn't do anything to Yi Hao. Queen Kesha is the strongest in the known universe and the supreme leader of their angel civilization. This guy actually said that he wanted to conquer their great Queen Kesha, which was simply ridiculous. However, Angel Jue quickly regained her composure. She stared at Yi Hao and said, "Although you are very strong, Queen Kesha's power is not something you can resist. You will eventually fail." Pa. Yi Hao slapped her snow-white buttocks again. "You little angel talks too much nonsense." Puff. Angel Jue almost vomited blood. She had never been humiliated like this before, but she had no way to deal with this source of evil. Angel Jue closed her eyes and let the tears flow down her cheeks. Her body trembled slightly, and her heart was filled with grief and grievance. She endured it silently and couldn't help but sigh in her heart, "It's over. I am a high-level guard angel, but today I am going to be tainted by a dirty and filthy source of evil. What a sin." Angel Jue wailed in her heart, in extreme pain. Yi Hao didn't care about her inner torment and sadness at the moment, but felt very happy. What an interesting toy. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Then, Yi Hao took Angel Jue back to Jusha City. I don't know how long Angel Jue can last in his hands. Yi Hao was full of expectations. How could this happen? The angel was defeated, and defeated so thoroughly. When Huang Lao and other Chinese senior officials witnessed the battle between Yi Hao and Angel Jue with their own eyes, they were all stunned. Angel Jue's strength is unquestionable. Even if Sun Wukong personally came out, it would be difficult to defeat her quickly. But the monster defeated Angel Jue with just his physical body, and even captured Angel Jue. Who can resist such a terrifying power? The Chinese high-level officials who were originally relieved by the arrival of Angel Jue. After seeing the horror of Yi Hao, their expressions suddenly became more gloomy. They thought that they could solve this crisis with the power of Angel Jue. But unexpectedly, Angel Jue not only failed to solve the opponent, but was defeated and captured by him. Comrade Wukong, what should we do now? Huang Lao and other Chinese high-level officials were worried. Sun Wukong's brows were twisted into a river shape, and his expression was solemn. If the enemy comes, the general will stop it, and if the water comes, the earth will cover it. If he had a way, he would not stay here, but would go directly to kill the monster and avoid this disaster. He did not expect that Angel Jue would just give it away like this. This made Sun Wukong feel helpless. Did she just go big without any trump cards? Sun Wukong shook his head helplessly, feeling quite depressed. He turned to look at a general beside him and asked, "Has the sunlight of the Liang civilization not arrived yet?" To be honest, Sun Wukong did not like the Liang civilization. After all, the Liang civilization had invaded the Earth more than 1,000 years ago and fought a great battle with him. So, even if the situation is so bad now, he is not very willing to cooperate with the Liang civilization. However, the safety of their Earth now needs the help of the Liang civilization. Report, not yet. It is said that the sunlight is on the way. The general replied respectfully. It's really slow. Sun Wukong couldn't help but complain. Suddenly, a communication came in. Following it, a message appeared on the virtual projection screen. After Sun Wukong saw the content of the message, his expression suddenly changed. It's a communication from Comrade Lianfeng. It's great that she is not dead. After seeing the message from Lianfeng, Huang Lao and others were ecstatic. Lianfeng was once a senior military scientist of the Dinner Civilization, a staff officer of the Qiangwei Company of the Super Seminary, and the acting commander of the Black Great Wall. As the core figure in charge of organizing the Black Great Wall plan, her importance is beyond doubt. If she died, China's power would suffer heavy losses. And now, she is fine. This is nothing short of a great joyous event worth celebrating. Hurry up, hurry up. Huang Lao and others urged urgently. Sun Wukong nodded and connected the communication as required by the other side. However, the video screen did not show Lianfeng's original heroic figure in military uniform, but a desolate scene. Lianfeng was shrouded in an exoskeleton covered with sharp thorns, and a pair of ferocious demon wings stretched behind her. Comrade Lianfeng? Huang Lao exclaimed, obviously not expecting this situation to happen. Sister Lianfeng. Sun Wukong was stunned. He did not expect that Lianfeng had changed so much in such a short time. If it were not for the fact that the outline of her face still existed, Sun Wukong would not even recognize her. Is this still the heroic Lianfeng at the beginning? This is clearly a hideous and terrifying monster, like a demon. Lianfeng. How could you become like this? The other generals were all stunned when they saw Lianfeng's appearance at this moment. Lianfeng's voice was extremely cold, and her tone was like a devil from the nine nether hell, filled with a strong breath of killing. I'm fine, but I've mutated. Lianfeng gritted her teeth and said, the only thing to be thankful for is that I still retain my rationality and know what to do and what not to do. I have a very important message to tell everyone. Please listen carefully. Sun Wukong and a group of Chinese high-level officials all listened attentively. I roughly know the origin of the monsters in Juxia City. Hearing this, Huang Lao and others were stunned and showed stunned expressions. What is the origin of these monsters? Chapter 39. Well, after I mutated into a monster, I naturally gained some information. This information appeared in my memory out of thin air, but it definitely doesn't belong to me. Lianfeng said seriously, this is the inherited memory of the monster. Hiss. Hearing Lianfeng's words, Huang Lao and other senior executives were shocked. The inherited memory of the monster? If these words are true, then the origin of the monster is likely to be beyond imagination. After all, inherited memory is something that ordinary creatures don't have in Chinese myths and legends. Where did this monster come from? What is it? Huang Lao and other Chinese senior executives asked hurriedly. They come from the endless abyss. Endless abyss? What is the endless abyss? Everyone was confused. They had never heard of the endless abyss, but judging from Lianfeng's solemn attitude, this endless abyss is not simple. The endless abyss is the strongest forbidden area in the universe. It is the place where the negative existences of the universe gather. It contains endless secrets and treasures. And in the endless abyss, there live countless terrible abyss demons. The universe? Abyss demons? Everyone was surprised again. What are abyss demons? They know about demons, but what are abyss demons? And the universe? What are the universe? Sun Wukong pondered and said, could it be that there is another universe outside the universe? There are indeed other universes outside the universe. And the universe we are in is just an insignificant world in the universe. Lianfeng glanced at Sun Wukong indifferently and continued, the universe is endless and infinite. And the endless abyss is also endless and infinite. In short, the abyss demons in the endless abyss are more terrifying than the demons you understand, more bloodthirsty and brutal. Moreover, the strength of each abyss demon is very terrifying. According to the inherited memory, only those with wisdom are abyss demons, and those without wisdom are abyss monsters. I am now an abyss demon, Lianfeng told the information she had obtained, making Sun Wukong and others more and more palpitating. Damn, this abyss demon is too perverted, right? Sun Wukong was shocked. Yes, the lifespan of the abyss demon is infinite. Not only that, they can also control various special abilities. Doesn't this mean that anyone who encounters the abyss demon will have no power to resist and can only be slaughtered? Most importantly, the abyss demon can actually corrode other creatures and transform them into abyss demons or abyss monsters. There is no way to fight this. After hearing the information provided by Lianfeng, all the senior executives felt a chill rising. Although they were mentally prepared in advance, they were still shocked after hearing the degree of danger of the Abyss Demon. So, you must be careful and don't act rashly, Lianfeng solemnly reminded. I will stay in Juxia City and work hard to make myself stronger. In the secret research base, there are some Abyss Demons that have mutated like me, and they will also help me. In addition, I hope you don't take the initiative to provoke the Abyss Demons in Juxia City. You just need to build a defense line nearby. At this point, Lianfeng's mouth showed a bitter smile. At this moment, she suddenly felt the fragility and insignificance of human beings. Human life is too fragile. Just encountering an Abyss Demon or monster is enough to bring disaster to people. Moreover, the number of Abyss Demons and monsters is too many. Even if she fights to the death, it is impossible to stop them from spreading. Sister Lianfeng. At this time, Sun Wukong suddenly shouted, You should be very clear about the current situation. Even if we don't take the initiative to provoke these Abyss Demons, they will take the initiative to find us. Instead of passively defending, it is better to take the initiative. After hearing Sun Wukong's words, Lianfeng's eyes suddenly shot towards him. What do you think? Sun Wukong pondered for a moment and said, Since you can become an Abyss Demon, then we can also become an Abyss Demon. In that case, why can't we become an Abyss Demon and penetrate them? Lianfeng was stunned. This news was so explosive that Lianfeng was stunned for a moment. Sun Wukong wants to become an Abyss Demon? Comrade Wukong, are you crazy? Huang Lao jumped on the spot. This group of senior officials are the elites of the human race and the pillars of China. If they all become Abyss Demons, what future does mankind have? Punch into the interior, disintegrate the enemy, and completely eliminate the hidden dangers. Sun Wukong said loudly, This is just an idea I proposed. You still need to decide whether to do it or not. Hearing Sun Wukong's sonorous speech, everyone fell into silence in an instant. After a long time, Huang Lao sighed and nodded in agreement. That's right. Now we can only take risky moves. How can you be sure that you can become an Abyss Demon instead of an Abyss Monster? Lianfeng couldn't help asking. Hee, this depends on Sister Lianfeng. I believe that Sister Lianfeng can definitely do it. Sun Wukong laughed. Hearing this, Huang Lao and others rolled their eyes. Lianfeng's ability is still unquestionable, but when it comes to the Abyss Demon, who can guarantee that she can succeed 100%? The risk is too great. This plan can be tested, but Comrade Wukong can't take risks. Huang Lao said to Sun Wukong with a firm face, You are now the Dinghe Shenzhen of my China, and you must not get into trouble. This okay. Sun Wukong was a little disappointed. In fact, he really wanted to give it a try. After all, his current strength has reached the peak, and as a technology monkey, he can't practice, and his combat effectiveness has stagnated at the primitive stage. But seeing the serious expression of Mr. Huang, he could only give up and agree obediently. Then, Lianfeng and Mr. Huang and others began to discuss the specific plan. Yihao saw all this. After all, the secret research base where Lianfeng was located was under the coverage of his will. Therefore, he knew everything about what Sun Wukong and others talked about with Lianfeng. Yihao did not stop Lianfeng's plan, and did not even care. The result will not change because of anyone. Even if Lianfeng really transformed all humans into Abyss Demons, Yihao still has the ability to crush them. What's more, isn't this giving him performance? However, after Lianfeng became an Abyss Demon, her figure seemed to be better, especially somewhere. Yihao looked at her arc and shape that looked like a mountain from the side and a peak from the side, which was extremely beautiful. However, her exoskeleton blocked this beauty, otherwise, the scenery would be even more stunning. She is quite pretty. Inside the mansion, Yihao shook his head and smiled, patting the buttocks of Angel Qiangwei, who was riding on him. Go, don't dawdle, Yihao urged. Get lost. Angel Qiangwei snorted coldly. Her tone seemed a little cold. This source of evil actually used her as a mount. This is simply a shame. But Yihao ignored her anger at all. Instead clamped Angel Qiangwei's waist with his legs, causing her body to tremble slightly. Hey, I warn you. Get off me. Angel Qiangwei was ashamed and angry and kept struggling, but the more she struggled, the happier Yihao was. Chapter 40. Heh, the little angel has a bad temper. Yihao laughed, then reached out and touched Angel Qiangwei's face. But I like horses like you with a hot temper, and I feel a sense of accomplishment when I tame them. You stop it. Angel Zhue's face flushed, and she gritted her teeth. But she was weak and couldn't get rid of Yihao's restraints at all, so she could only let Yihao bully her. Qilin and He Weilon stood respectfully aside, not even daring to breathe. He Weilon was very shocked. Is this angel the one who launched the attack before? You know, even Qilin almost couldn't withstand the previous attack, and the lethality was extremely amazing. And now, she is being bullied by Yihao while riding on her. TSK. Life is really unpredictable, and the big intestines are wrapped in the small intestines. However, although she was shocked, she did not show any abnormality, but stared at Yihao with awe. Can she become so strong in the future? As for feeling cruel or something, for the Abyss Demon, not pulling out the angel's tendons and skinning her, it was too merciful. After all, in the inherited memory of the Ice Demon, He Weilon was very clear about the cruelty of the endless abyss. Qilin thought to herself with some ups and downs in her heart. I don't know if the master is satisfied with my previous performance. However, the purpose of my coming this time is to let Sister Weilon enter the master's field of vision. This way she won't be treated as a consumable by the master. At this moment, Yihao rode on Angel Zhue and smiled playfully. His right hand grabbed Angel Zhue's long golden hair and tore it to both sides, while his left hand slid down her soft hair and touched Angel Zhue's snow-white skin. Feeling the warmth transmitted from Yihao's fingertips, Angel Zhue's pretty face turned pale. Her breathing became rapid. Her whole body couldn't stop trembling violently, and her heart seemed to be about to break. She is an angel, a proud high-level guard angel. No man has ever dared to touch her. And now, Yihao actually rode her like a mount and insulted her. This made her feel that she had suffered a great humiliation. Stop it, or I won't forgive you. She struggled desperately, but was firmly controlled by Yihao. Hee, you won't forgive me? Do you think you can still escape? Yihao smiled playfully and suddenly slapped Angel Zhue's hips. Wow. Angel Zhue cried out in pain and trembled. You are a lowly source of evil. She was so angry that her chest rose and fell violently, and her whole face was extremely red. However, no matter how much she scolded, Yihao didn't care. You're a good compliment. I'll reward you. Yihao smiled faintly, suddenly pinched Angel Zhue's cheek, and put his lips close to it. Angel Zhue widened his eyes and was completely confused. God, you're a good compliment. Is this a compliment? Woo-woo. D. Get out of here? Angel Zhue struggled, but in the end she could not escape her fate and could only let Yihao invade her. After a long time, Yihao finally let go of her mouth. But at this moment, Angel Zhue's face was already as red as a peach. Yihao looked at her blushing face and chuckled. What? Are you so excited? You be D. I'm going to kill you. Angel Zhue was ashamed and angry, and she opened her mouth and bit Yihao. Haha, you want to bite me? You're dreaming. Yihao smiled contemptuously, then raised his hand and slapped Angel Zhue's butt. Pa, the crisp sound echoed in the room. D. Angel Zhue was furious, with a cold light flashing in her eyes. Yihao did not continue to pay attention to her, but used the power of the abyss to condense a rope and tied her up. After doing all this, Yihao looked at Qilin and said, I know your thoughts. You did a good job this time. Thank you, master. Qilin was very excited to hear Yihao praise her. At the same time, she cast a gloating look at Angel Zhue. However, she did not realize that her attitude towards Yihao had quietly changed, from the previous fear and hatred to a kind of admiration and worship. She wanted to get more recognition from Yihao. The Abyss contract was subtly affecting Qilin. This made Yihao very satisfied. Then, he shot a force of the Abyss contract at He Weilon on the side. Soon, the effect of the Abyss contract took effect, and Yihao instantly grasped He Weilon's thinking, and also clearly knew the thoughts in her mind. Her current thoughts are probably similar to Qilin's at the beginning, wanting to gain powerful power. He also wanted to save the country in a roundabout way, and try his best to prevent the survivors from becoming irrational Abyss monsters. Instead, they would transform into Abyss demons. Yihao didn't care what the girl thought. Instead, he gave an order directly. He Weilon, listen to my order. From today on, you will be responsible for assisting Qilin in building the demon city. He Weilon was startled when she heard this, and then immediately knelt on the ground and kowtowed. I will obey your will. Although she was puzzled as to why Yi Hao suddenly entrusted her with such an important task. But she didn't ask, because she knew that too much talk would lead to mistakes. Qilin, take her down. Okay, master. Qilin replied obediently. She thought the master would let her stay and serve. After all, she was a slave, and this kind of thing was considered normal operation. It seems that the master likes the angel beauty more. Qilin muttered in her heart, and looked at Angel Zhuai with some resentment. Yi Hao felt Qilin's thoughts, shook his head and laughed, and didn't expect Qilin to have the potential to be jealous. Then, Yi Hao waved his hand and asked Qilin and He Weilon to leave. After the two disappeared completely, Yi Hao turned around and put the tied-up Angel Zhuai on the bed. What a hot body! Yi Hao admired Angel Zhuai's perfect and seductive figure and couldn't help but admire it. What do you want to do? Angel Zhuai's ominous premonition became stronger and stronger at this moment, and she stared at Yi Hao vigilantly. Guess. Yi Hao smiled evilly, and then took out all kinds of strange things from the space in his body. Angel Zhuai looked at those things, and his pupils shrank sharply. You guy, pervert. Angel Zhuai was scared. This was not the source of evil, but a pervert. Swish, swish, swish. Yi Hao fiddled with it for a while, and Angel Zhuai was hung up. Don't mess around. Please, don't. Don't be nervous. Yi Hao stretched out his index finger and gently lifted Angel Zhuai's delicate chin like porcelain. Aren't you very good at talking? Why are you silent now? Yi Hao smiled slightly. While speaking, he had already laid out the tools one by one. Although Angel Zhuai didn't understand the specific uses of these things, she could guess from their appearance that they were not good things. This scene made her panic. She would rather die than fall into such a miserable end. No. Angel Zhuai cried and begged. She had never been so scared as she was at this moment, because she found that it would really break down. Yi Hao smiled and said, Don't worry, you won't die. While speaking, his eyes flashed a hint of scarlet. No. Accompanied by Angel Zhuai's desperate shouts, the game officially began. Chapter 41. Washington, USA. Above a skyscraper, Rose quietly floated in the air, overlooking the prosperous streets and traffic. Behind her, a group of abyss monsters bound by illusory tentacles were struggling and roaring. This is the last batch, Rose murmured, her beautiful pupils full of coldness. She has already deployed some abyss monsters in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, San Francisco, and other cities. Now, these behind her are the last batch she brought this time. Suddenly, Rose controlled the tentacles to throw these abyss monsters to the ground. Bang, bang, bang. Accompanied by a series of loud noises, almost all the abyss monsters fell to the ground, causing a commotion and panic. Oh my God, what did I see? There are so many monsters here. Help! Countless people screamed and fled in all directions, and the whole avenue fell into a panic for a while. Seeing this scene, Rose's face was full of indifference. As long as she is not in China, she has no worries. Then she slowly flew high into the sky. Behind her, a pair of illusory demon wings slowly appeared. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, precision-guided missiles shot from a distance, aiming at Rose. Humph! Seeking death. Rose snorted lightly, and then her wings suddenly flapped. Suddenly, the void fluctuated, and these missiles were sent to other areas by her, causing a roaring explosion. Boom! The violent explosion sounded again. Rose's face was cold, and the demon wings behind her flapped, disappearing from the spot. As a void demon, there is no doubt about self-protection. At this moment, inside the White House, the black president had a serious face, and he stood in front of the French window of his office and looked at the scene in the distance. Suddenly, a voice came from the communication system beside him. Report. Failed to eliminate the target. The target has been lost. The black president frowned, and then after a long silence, he slowly said, Continue to search for the target. Yes. After the communication was hung up, the black president still stood there in thought. He felt a little uneasy. The unknown creature has been throwing monsters at their America. He even suspected that the other party's purpose was to destroy the entire America. This is really crazy. The black president was a little worried, but also had expectations. If he could successfully kill the unknown creature, then he might be able to obtain this powerful power by studying its corpse. At that time, he will be the overlord of the new world, and he will also be the only king on this planet. Such an opportunity is rare. The black president prayed in his heart, hoping to find and kill the unknown creature as soon as possible. As long as the other party is solved, everything will be solved. Mr. President, the superpowers of the Hate Alliance have rushed to the White House. Please give your instructions. A blonde secretary walked in and said respectfully. Hearing this, the black president nodded calmly. Bring the people here. I need them to protect me personally. The black president said calmly. He has made adequate preparations. Moreover, in order to avoid accidents, he specially dispatched the alliance of haters. These superpowers have extraordinary combat power, and he believes that this will definitely help him solve the problem. After all, they are the top superpower organization in the United States. Yes, Mr. President. Soon, all the members of the Hate Alliance gathered. All of them were dressed in strange clothes, and their eyes revealed dissatisfaction. To be honest, they didn't want to protect the black president. They prefer to live freely and enjoy exciting things. However, they couldn't refuse the order of the American government, who made them belong to the superpower organization of the United States now. Everyone. The black president looked at everyone with a serious expression. Although I don't want to disturb you from enjoying life. But, he paused slightly and then continued. I just received news that our America is under attack by unknown creatures. He briefly described the current situation and told them that the enemy is very dangerous and must unite to face the outside world. Hearing this, the faces of the members of the Hate Alliance changed. The United States is one of the hegemonic countries in the world. It was attacked? Who sent this damn monster? How dare you provoke us, America? No matter what, we must catch this monster. Hey, Mr. President, what do we need to do? Members of the Hate Alliance expressed their opinions, obviously agreeing with the black president's proposal. After all, this matter involves too many things. According to the intelligence we have obtained, these monsters first appeared in China, and then in America. The black president looked solemn. I need you to protect the White House. China? Don't worry, Mr. President. China? Haha, this is the land of America. Even the monsters there should crawl and tremble at our feet. We can completely deal with monsters of this level. A group of people spoke up, their expressions full of ease and disdain. Well, these monsters are very dangerous, so you must be extremely careful. The black president solemnly instructed. At this moment, another email rang. The black president glanced at it, and then his face suddenly changed. Is China crazy? They actually released nuclear weapons on their own land? What? Nuclear weapons? Are these Chinese crazy? The members of the Hate Alliance were all surprised. The deterrent power of nuclear weapons is too amazing. Even as strong as they are, they feel a little fear. The black president's expression was also a little ugly, and then he shook his head and said, Are those monsters really so scary? They actually forced China to activate nuclear weapons. But it doesn't matter. Anyway, this time we have the protection of the Hate Alliance in America, so we don't have to be afraid of those monsters. His tone calmed down, thinking that America will win this time, because he holds a powerful force. The members of the Hate Alliance all have extremely strong combat power. If even they can't do it, then no one can really resist these monsters. After thinking about this clearly, the black president breathed a sigh of relief. Suddenly, an inexplicable chill rose from his back. Mr. President, what's wrong? The secretary noticed the abnormality of the black president and asked hurriedly. The black president did not answer her question, but fell asleep. Yeah, he really fell asleep. The kind that he couldn't wake up. After all, his head fell to the ground. This scene made all the members of the Hate Alliance sluggish. They looked at the headless body of the black president and couldn't come back to their senses for a long time. The president, Mr. President, is dead? I don't know who said it, and then the whole room exploded instantly. Blood gushed out from the wound. The body of the black president was quickly stained red with blood. His head rolled to the ground. Chapter 42. Mr. President is dead? The secretary was so frightened that her legs trembled and she almost collapsed on the ground. The rest of the members of the Hate Alliance were in a commotion. They didn't expect that the president would be killed in front of them. Shit. Even if the death of the black president had nothing to do with them. But they couldn't shirk their responsibility. They came to protect the president. Who did it? Many members of the Hate Alliance looked gloomy and were extremely angry. At this moment, Rose, who was hidden in the void, stared at everything here with cold eyes. Silver light flashed in her eyes, like two silver moons. This black president didn't know whether to live or die, and dared to attack her. This is courting death. As Rose's mind turned, she attacked again and slashed at a Spider-Man of the Hate Alliance wearing a spider tights. Spider-Man instantly felt a huge oppression. A terrifying killing intent came towards him. Not good. His face suddenly changed. Spider silk burst out and pulled him aside. But it was still a step too late. His right arm was cut off and fell to the ground. The severe pain made him twitch all over and almost fainted. But he stood up and gritted his teeth and said, "Damn it. The other party has spatial ability and can teleport. We have to leave here as soon as possible." His face was distorted. Because he was almost dead here. "Go," he growled, and the other members of the Hate Alliance also reacted. "Humph. You want to escape now? It's too late." Rose sneered. Swish. A silver claw shadow cut through the void and slashed towards an Iron Man wearing red and gold exoskeleton armor. With a bang, the Iron Man was torn into pieces on the spot, and blood splattered all over the ground. Hiss. What a sharp claw shadow. The remaining members of the Hate Alliance couldn't help but take a breath of cold air when they saw this. They didn't expect this enemy to be so powerful. Retreat quickly. They didn't dare to stay for long, and prepared to leave the room however. A terrifying killing intent enveloped their bodies. With a sound of puff, Rose's figure disappeared from the spot. The next second, Rose appeared in front of this member of the Hate Alliance. The sharp claws in Rose's hand suddenly pierced into the chest of the member of the Hate Alliance, and then tore it hard. Crack, a huge heart appeared in Rose's hand. Rose's palm turned slightly. The heart suddenly turned into powder and scattered. Devil. This is definitely a devil. The remaining members of the Hate Alliance saw this scene, and all their souls were scared. They didn't even bother to check the life and death of their companions, and ran away. Whoosh. For a moment, several people rushed to the windowsill. They wanted to jump off the building and leave. Bang. However, at the moment they jumped out of the window, Rose had already appeared above them, and then a series of illusory tentacles stretched out and suddenly wrapped around their necks. The scream resounded throughout the White House, making people shudder. Soon, the screams stopped. One hideous body after another fell to the ground. The guards who had just arrived looked at the scene in front of them. Their heads were buzzing and in chaos. This scene was really shocking. Rose looked at the debris on the ground indifferently, and she ignored it. Because the guards had already surrounded them nearby. Rose glanced at them coldly, and then disappeared from the spot without a trace. She was a little confused now, and she didn't know why she couldn't control herself and started killing. But she couldn't suppress the violent emotions. It seemed that her instinct told her that it should be so. Rose came to a remote alley. She stopped, and her breathing was a little rapid. She covered her heart, and a trace of worry and struggle appeared between her eyebrows. Is this the instinct of the Abyss Demon? She felt upset and seemed to lose something. But this unscrupulous killing was so refreshing. Such contradictory feelings made her not know what to do. Qiangwei was very confused, and finally smiled bitterly and shook her head. "No matter what, I will continue to carry out the orders given by the master." After that, she disappeared from the spot. Ready to return to Juxia City and release more abyss monsters to the world, she did not notice that her thinking was gradually changing. This kind of change that moistens things silently is slowly eroding her. She was unaware. Juxia City. Inside the mansion, Angel Jue lay on the bed. She looked like she had no desire to live. She held a hollow ball in her mouth. The ball was purple. There were drops of liquid flowing out of it. The liquid exuded a strange fragrance. Every drop of liquid was as bright and dazzling as a pearl. Suddenly, Angel Jue's eyes widened, and she swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Her pair of pure white angel wings hung weakly on the side of the bed, and Yihao held them in his hands and stroked them gently. "It's a perfect work of art, worthy of being my masterpiece." He looked at his masterpiece, and a slight arc appeared at the corner of his mouth. Angel Jue looked at Yihao with resentment. Her eyes were wet. This time, she really cried, because she felt that she could never go back. She was completely polluted by the source of evil. From now on, she is no longer the pure and innocent Angel Jue. For Angel Jue, this is worse than death. She is usually very strong and confident, but after Yihao's means, she feels that she has fallen. This feeling is terrible. "Little angel, do you think you will get pregnant?" Yihao asked with interest. Puff. Angel Jue almost spit out a mouthful of blood when she heard this. Pregnancy? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. You are kidding, right? Although she was polluted by the source of evil, she could never get pregnant with the child of the source of evil. After all, she is a pure and innocent angel. How can she give birth to a child for the source of evil? This is simply a tarnishing of her holy identity and honor. Unfortunately, her mouth was blocked and she couldn't refute, so she could only stare at Yihao fiercely. She wanted to pounce on Yihao and cut him into pieces. Chapter 43. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yihao pulled out the foxtail that was attached to Angel Zhuwei. Puff, drops of liquid immediately flowed down Angel Zhuwei's body. Hiss, Angel Zhuwei took a breath of cold air. This is too painful, isn't it? Yihao couldn't help laughing when he saw this scene. Then, he hung Angel Zhuwei up again, letting her two little wings hang in the air. To be honest, this visual impact is really pleasing to the eyes. Angel Zhuwei's face turned black when she saw Yihao's move. What does this be asterisk 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 D want to do? However, Yihao did not make any move. He turned his attention to the outside of Juxia City because he noticed that the abyss demons and monsters that spread outward had collided with the defense line arranged by China. Boom! The battle broke out. The Chinese military mobilized a large number of troops to resist the abyss demons and monsters. However, there were too many abyss demons and monsters, densely covering the sky, like locusts, and it was impossible to count them. Their eyes were bloodthirsty and cruel, and they rushed towards the defense line arranged by China frantically. Roar! Oh whoa! The abyss demons howled and roared, and the terrifying sound waves swept around, setting off huge waves. Boom, boom, boom. Waves of extremely terrifying energy ripples exploded, destroying everything. Kill. Kill these monsters. Damn, these beasts are so fierce. Stop talking nonsense. Fight these guys. The soldiers roared angrily, and the weapons in their hands bombarded the abyss demons. Da-da-da. The machine guns fired, densely rockets roared, and high-explosive grenades flew and tore the sky. A fierce fight officially kicked off. The battle was extremely brutal, and various weapons emerged in an endless stream. The lineup arranged by China was very strong, enough to suppress any invaders. However, when conventional weapons cannot cause damage to these abyss demons and monsters, a large number of heavy artillery fired. Bang, bang, bang. Flames bloomed. Countless flames illuminated the sky, and groups of hot flames poured down like raindrops, covering the whole world. Boom, boom, boom. The violent explosion sounded 100 kilometers. A large number of abyss demons and monsters were bombed into slag. Haha, cool. Haha. Kill. Brothers. Kill these beasts. The military's combat effectiveness is very strong. There is no doubt about it. But even so, under the crazy offensive of the abyss demons and monsters, they were still defeated. A soldier was grabbed by the head by an abyss demon. Crack. The abyss demon squeezed hard, and the soldier's head exploded immediately. Bright red blood splashed on the face of another soldier. The soldier trembled all over. His eyes were filled with the strong smell of blood, and he fell into a state of madness. Kill! He roared, and the howitzer fired, blasting the abyss demon and several monsters around him into pieces. At the same time, he was also blown away by the shock wave generated by the explosion. The soldier fell to the ground, and then he struggled to get up and continued to fight. The cruelty of the war far exceeded the expectations of the Chinese leaders. There were corpses everywhere, some human, some abyss demons and monsters. In the sky, the battle was also very tragic. Armed helicopters, fighters, bombers, etc., all participated in the battle. Those abyss demons and monsters that could fly were attacked fiercely. This is an epic battle. This is hell. It is a place where abyss demons and monsters are rampant. And behind the battlefield, in Juxia City, Liang Bing is leading a team of abyss demons who have preserved their sanity to hunt abyss monsters to become stronger. They did not slaughter everything violently like the other abyss demons and monsters, but cooperated in an orderly manner to hunt all monsters. They are killing. Improve your strength as soon as possible. They have to become stronger and stronger to protect China. Captain Liang Bing, if this continues, the defense line may not last long. Now there are sporadic abyss demons and monsters that have crossed the defense line. Next to Liang Bing, a ferocious and burly abyss demon said in a deep voice. Liang Bing looked up at the bloody sky with cold eyes. Continue hunting. Our only task now is to become stronger. Yes, the abyss demon said respectfully, and then led his men to continue hunting abyss monsters. Liang Bing's enchanting figure, wrapped in exoskeleton armor, looks extremely ferocious and beautiful, especially with her exquisite and perfect face. It is even more seductive. She knows very well that with their current strength, helping will not affect the battle situation. What they have to do now is to work hard to improve their strength. Yi Hao's will shrouded the surroundings of Juxia City, taking in everything. At this moment, he was playing with Angel Zhue's soft body, while staring at the battle scene in front with interest. As for Angel Zhue's eyes that seemed to want to kill Yi Hao chose to ignore it. After all, he had eaten them all up, and no matter how angry this little angel was, he couldn't change the facts. It seems that these abyss demons and monsters want to completely break through the defense line. It will probably take some effort. Yi Hao muttered to himself, with an evil arc at the corner of his mouth. Let me give you a hand. After that, Yi Hao stomped his feet hard. The ground cracked, and his figure disappeared instantly. Angel Zhue looked at the background where Yi Hao disappeared blankly. She could only groan from her throat, but it was useless. As for her safety, there was no need to worry. The entire mansion was shrouded by a huge blood-colored barrier. After all, this was Yi Hao's temporary residence. It was impossible that there was no defense at all. Whoosh! The next moment, Yi Hao's demonic body appeared on the battlefield. His eyes were indifferent, looking down at the earth. A mighty abyss force gathered in his palm. Not good. The general in charge of commanding the battle observed Yi Hao's movements through the screen. When he saw Yi Hao appear above the battlefield, his face changed slightly and he hurriedly shouted, "All units, immediately execute the retreat order. The situation is urgent. Evacuate quickly." The general's reaction speed was extremely fast, and he wanted to order all units to retreat immediately. Because according to the information he obtained, this suddenly appeared abyss demon, but it was a terrifying existence that could swallow a nuclear explosion. Now, the other party actually appeared on the battlefield. That would definitely cause a terrible catastrophe. Thanks. The famous V. Zhantian boss's monthly ticket. Chapter 44. Boom. However, before the general could evacuate the battle zone, a majestic and vast breath of the abyss suddenly spread, covering 1,000 miles. Swallow. Suddenly, no matter who looked over, they could see the unpredictable changes in the world. The void seemed like a bottomless abyss, which suddenly twisted and gradually turned into a dark vortex. Its edges were blurred, as if twisted by an invisible force, and the center of the vortex was a deep black hole, as if it could swallow all light and life. Then, an irresistible suction force broke out from the dark vortex, as fierce as a storm. This force swept the entire defense line, as if it was going to pull everything into the endless darkness. Those soldiers who had not yet evacuated the battlefield screamed in fear, trying to resist this strange force. However, their bodies were pulled uncontrollably and flew towards the vortex. Under the influence of this force, heavy equipment such as tanks, armored vehicles, helicopters, fighter jets, etc. were easily torn apart like pieces of paper, turning into countless fragments flying in the air. In an instant, the entire battlefield was shrouded in darkness and chaos. Those lives and objects that were pulled into the vortex turned into ashes and dissipated into nothingness the moment they came into contact with the black hole. It seemed that their existence had never existed, leaving only the dark vortex and endless darkness, continuing to devour everything around them. Hiss! This scene shocked all the survivors who were not involved. Even the abyss demons and monsters were full of horror. Although they were cruel and bloodthirsty, they all showed fear after seeing Yi Hao's power. Run! Damn it! Run! The abyss demons and monsters panicked and fled everywhere regardless of everything. Unfortunately, Yi Hao's attack was indiscriminate. The abyss demons and monsters within the battlefield were also covered in the attack range. Roar! Countless screams resounded through the sky. Under this terrifying force, all the abyss demons and monsters within the battlefield were torn into powder and turned into ashes. Not even a slag was left. With just one move, the entire defense line was destroyed. These dead humans, abyss demons, and abyss monsters all turned into pure energy and merged into Yi Hao's body, becoming the nutrients for his promotion. Yi Hao's breath was rising wildly. All the beings who saw this scene were stunned. This guy is too cruel. Just with one move, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of monsters and humans were turned into ashes. Crazy and inhumane. All the humans, abyss demons, and monsters who witnessed all this were scared to death at this moment. Plop. In the meeting room of the Super God Academy, Huang Lao sat on the chair with weak legs, trembling all over, and his face was pale. Too scary. There were hundreds of thousands or millions of humans, abyss demons and monsters, but they were killed instantly by him. This terrifying power is simply horrifying. They originally wanted to delay time and slow down the spread of abyss demons and monsters. Give them more time to study abyss demonization. Who would have thought? This damn thing not only did not slow down the spread at all, but accelerated the spread. Moreover, a large number of living forces were directly killed by that damn D. Huang Lao trembled all over at this moment. He felt that he had really stirred up a hornet's nest this time. The defense line was broken, and large-scale abyss demons and monsters would enter the land without a man, wreaking havoc in towns and cities everywhere, causing huge destruction. Damn it! What should we do with these abyss demons? We can't just watch them wreak havoc on our land. A general roared indignantly. They all knew the seriousness of this matter. Can we still stop it? What can we do to stop it? Another general smiled bitterly. Everyone was silent. They knew that if the abyss demons and monsters were allowed to attack, the entire Chinese people would suffer. Deathly silence. The entire conference hall fell into silence. Many high-level officials cast their eyes on Sun Wukong, who was silent on the side. At this critical moment, the only hope can only be placed on him. Be prepared for the worst, and prepare for the whole nation to become abyss demons. At least it is better to take the initiative to become an abyss demon than to become an irrational abyss monster. Sun Wukong's voice was calm, but the helplessness in his voice was obvious. What? Hearing this, everyone was stunned. They wanted to say something, but when they saw Sun Wukong's bright eyes, they couldn't say a word. They understood what Sun Wukong meant, and they also knew what Sun Wukong meant by this. But this decision was too cruel. Will China, with hundreds of millions of people, turn into hideous and terrifying abyss demons? The most important thing is that the success rate is still unknown. How is the abyss demonization experiment going? Old Huang frowned and asked. It has been initially perfected, but a large number of test subjects are still needed, a researcher said respectfully. Hearing this, Old Huang sighed. If possible, he was not willing to carry out the abyss demonization. After all, this is a road of no return. However, reality forced them to a dead end. Okay, carry on as planned. Then, under the attention of everyone, Old Huang began to announce the specific plan for the abyss demonization. First of all, this plan needs to be led by Liang Bing, and her scientific research ability is beyond doubt. Secondly, do the soldiers of the Liang Bing Lian also need to undergo abyss demonization? The most important thing is that we are human beings with normal emotions and desires. If we force everyone to become abyss demons, I am afraid many people will not be willing, Old Huang said after a pause. He knew the horror of abyss demonization. This is equivalent to turning yourself into an abyss demon. Once you undergo abyss demonization, there will be no turning back, and you can only go one way to the end. Unless you encounter a heaven-defying opportunity, it is difficult to get out of the state of abyss demon. Only the strongest people in the heavens and the worlds can snatch people from the hands of the abyss will. So I propose that the principle of voluntariness should be adopted. Everyone can choose whether they want to become an abyss demon and linger on, or continue to maintain the human form and sacrifice heroically. After Old Huang's voice fell, there was silence all around. Sun Wukong stood up, glanced around indifferently and said, I support Mr. Huang's suggestion. I support it too. Yes, I agree. Soon, almost all the senior executives raised their hands in agreement, because they all knew that they had no choice. If the stalemate continues, the abyss demons will become more and more turbulent, and the final situation will be unimaginable. Afterwards, they contacted Liang Bing and told her everything that had just happened. After learning about this, Liang Bing was stunned on the spot. She was still working hard to develop in Juxia City. The defense line outside collapsed. Although it is understandable, but isn't this too exaggerated? Is this the strength of the strong among the abyss demons? This is too terrifying. I agree. Liang Bing took a deep breath and nodded. She knew that this was the last chance. If they don't seize this opportunity, what awaits them will be endless disasters and darkness. In this case, we will immediately carry out the abyss demonization experiment. No matter who it is, anyone can participate as long as they are willing to become an abyss demon. Mr. Huang made the decision on the spot. I agree. 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 Everyone agreed on the spot. The abyss demonization of all people cannot be delayed. This is China's last chance. We must seize it. As for the support of Emperor Reina of the Liang civilization, it can only be said that when they knew the specific information of the endless abyss, they had no hope. It is only a matter of time before they fall. It's just that they want to delay as much time as possible. Let them study a method that can quickly convert humans into abyss demons. This way, at least they can retain their sanity. And they don't have to lose their sanity and become abyss monsters, or even die. This is the last thing they can do. Chapter 45. All people are demonized in the abyss. Yi Hao was digesting the energy he had just swallowed and noticed the conversation between Li Yinfeng and the Chinese high-level officials. Are they so impatient to throw themselves into the arms of the abyss? Yi Hao complained in his heart. Suddenly, he felt a little excited. He was curious about what would happen when the entire Chinese abyss was demonized. When the Taodai Corps and the demon civilization came, they found that China was full of abyss demons that were more evil and terrifying than them. What would they feel? Yi Hao's mouth drew an arc. Afterwards, he swallowed and absorbed all the energy he had obtained and successfully advanced to the middle demon, peak period. For the abyss demon, the gap between each small realm is a world of difference. Yi Hao estimated that with his current strength, it would be no pressure to destroy Juxia City with one blow. The most important thing is that he can finally use some of the time and space abilities in the Time Shadow Demon's talent. Although it is currently limited to slowing down the flow of time within a certain range, it is already terrifying enough. After all, time is supreme, space is king. Fate is not out, cause and effect is king. Creation is unparalleled, reincarnation is infinite. 5 elements are dominant, yin and yang are above. Destruction is not obvious, power is supreme. Yi Hao retracted his thoughts. He plans to take Li Yinfeng under his command next, because Li Yinfeng's ability is quite outstanding. After becoming the Lord of the Abyss in the future, the territory will naturally need someone to help take care of it, and Li Yinfeng is the ideal candidate in his mind. Of course, the most important thing is that Li Yinfeng is responsible for the demonization of the whole people in the Abyss. Yi Hao took her under his command, can better control the overall situation. Li Yinfeng was preparing to leave Juxia City with her Abyss demons. She was going to organize the demonization of the whole people in the Abyss. Suddenly, they felt a tremor all over their bodies, and a chilling and gloomy breath enveloped their bodies. Li Yinfeng looked up suddenly and saw Yi Hao appearing in front of them out of thin air. Her face changed drastically, and she instinctively stepped back a distance. The flapping of her demon wings created a violent hurricane, blowing away the hair on her temples. Captain Li Yinfeng, be careful, a group of abyss demons exclaimed, and they stared at Yi Hao vigilantly. Swish. Li Yinfeng didn't expect that this person would suddenly appear here, and her pretty face showed astonishment. Yi Hao's sudden appearance scared them. In particular, the terrible pressure emanating from Yi Hao suffocated them and made them feel a sense of danger of death. They naturally recognized that the abyss demon in front of them was the culprit of all this. But they were puzzled. Why did this terrifying abyss demon appear here? Respected strong man, do you have any instructions? Li Yinfeng asked with a forced smile on her face, her tone polite. Yi Hao glanced at Li Yinfeng lightly and then looked away, and then said, "You belong to me now." Boom. After Li Yinfeng heard Yi Hao's words, her head buzzed. She widened her beautiful eyes and couldn't believe her ears. What does this mean? Want her? He said he wanted her. This abyss demon wanted her. Li Yinfeng was instantly struck by thunder. Her demonic body was shaken, and her face was full of astonishment. Not only her, but everyone present was also stunned. What did he want to do? Want Chief Li Yinfeng? How could this be possible? Chief Li Yinfeng is now on an important mission. Yi Hao seemed not to notice and said lightly, "Come here." His tone seemed extremely calm, as if he was ordering a pet. Li Yinfeng frowned slightly. Although she didn't know what this guy wanted to do, since the other party wanted her, she couldn't refuse. "Yes, sir," Li Yinfeng said respectfully. As she said that, she walked towards Yi Hao and stretched out her hand to put on his shoulder. This scene fell into the eyes of everyone, causing their pupils to shrink suddenly, revealing a complicated look. How could this be? Chief Li Yinfeng actually surrendered. They were about to say something, but Li Yinfeng's eyes stopped their impulse. Li Yinfeng was also very nervous at this moment. No matter what, the strength of this abyss demon is beyond doubt. She is not even sure how powerful the person in front of her is. But, even so, Li Yinfeng still has no intention of retreating. If she can get the protection of this powerful abyss demon, then it will definitely be 100 benefits for China. Master, my name is Li Yinfeng. I am honored to be favored by you. I hope you will be satisfied, Li Yinfeng said, holding her hands around Yi Hao's neck and intimately pressed against his chest, showing her proud curves. Well, if there is no layer of hideous exoskeleton, it is indeed very tempting. Now? Yihao really doesn't feel anything. What can a hard exoskeleton feel like? Hiss, there were gasps around. Chief Lianfeng's personality has always been cold. Even when facing the top leaders of China, she has never been seen like this. Today, she actually flattered an abyss demon like this, which is really surprising. Of course, they also knew the purpose of Chief Lianfeng's doing this. But, is it really good like this? Master, do you have any other instructions? Lianfeng asked softly, as if trying to please Yihao, or teasing him. Yihao did not answer. Instead, he lifted Lianfeng up and disappeared on the spot, leaving the abyss demons alone in the wind. They looked at each other. What should we do now? Chief Lianfeng has been taken away, an abyss demon said worriedly. The others were silent for a moment, and finally made a decision. Notify the top management immediately. Yihao took Lianfeng back to the mansion. He glanced at Angel Jue, who was still hanging, rubbed her golden hair, and smiled frivolously. How do you feel? Angel Jue rolled his eyes at Yihao and ignored him. She felt a little embarrassed now. She didn't expect that the source of evil would go out and bring back another woman. She was naked now, hanging in the air. Although there were no wounds on her body because she had an immortal body, but it was still too embarrassing. Angel Jue wanted to find a crack to crawl into. She always felt that her immortal body made her suffer more. This abominable source of evil actually said that she had a strong tolerance. She could play more tricks. When she thought of this, she was even more sad. Lianfeng looked at Angel Jue in front of her. She saw her golden hair fluttering and her skin was delicate and smooth, especially those two straight and slender legs, which gave people a fatal charm. This is a beautiful angel. However, her mouth was blocked by a small purple ball with a hollow, so she couldn't speak. Seeing this scene, Lianfeng knew that this angel must have experienced something special. She might have experienced those things. After all, the abyss demon is not a good man or a believer. There is no etiquette, shame, or morality. She knew it in her heart. Then, Lianfeng said to Yihao respectfully, Master, do you need service? Angel Jue looked at Lianfeng in surprise. What a shameless woman. She even offered to serve. At this time, Lianfeng took back the exoskeleton that covered her whole body, revealing her graceful and hot body. Even with Yihao's indifference and concentration, he was attracted by such a beautiful scenery. Yihao couldn't help but look at them a few more times and compared the difference in body shape between the women. This made him sigh in his heart. The world is so wonderful. Lianfeng's body is actually the largest one around him. TSK. I didn't expect that falling into the abyss would have such an effect. This is much better than the effect of surgery. It's still pure and pollution-free. Qilin, Qiangwei, and others didn't change so much when they became abyss demons. Of course, their bodies were not small to begin with. However, compared with Lianfeng's proud body, it is still slightly inferior. The only pity is that Lianfeng is just a shadow demon and can control the power of shadow. It is on the same level as the cold abyss demon. Not bad, but it didn't bring any surprises to Yihao. Well, if you don't count her figure. Chapter 46. Master, you don't like it? Yihao's eyes were caught by Lianfeng, which made her heart tighten. She suppressed her inner uneasiness and asked calmly. Yihao did not answer, but sat directly on the bed. Seeing this, Lianfeng hurriedly knelt on the ground, and her slender jade fingers gently touched Yihao's thighs to help him massage and relieve fatigue. Her active and enthusiastic behavior made Yihao extremely satisfied and comfortable. Looking at Lianfeng's actions in front of him, Angel Chase looked disdainful and muttered in his heart, "Humph, so shameless." Yihao closed his eyes and rested. Lianfeng dutifully massaged Yihao's back and legs. She knew that the strength of this abyss demon was terrifying. She had not figured out his personality yet, so she had to be careful in serving him. Yihao enjoyed Lianfeng's service, changed his posture, and lay on the bed. Sure enough, only power is eternal. After he has enough strong strength, he can do whatever he wants. Master, how is it? Lianfeng asked softly. Yihao didn't say anything. Instead, he rested his arms behind his head, looking lazy. Seeing that Yihao didn't seem to refuse, Lianfeng took a step further. However, as time passed, she was obviously having trouble holding on. Angel Jue stared at everything in front of her in amazement. She couldn't believe that the woman would do such a servile thing to please the damn source of evil. This was simply unacceptable to Angel Jue. It was really unbearable to watch. Master, finally, Lianfeng was a little exhausted and seemed to be unable to hold on. Yihao opened his eyes, glanced at Lianfeng in front of him, and said lightly, "Not bad." Hearing this, Lianfeng breathed a sigh of relief. However, Yihao's next words made Lianfeng dumbfounded instantly. "Aren't you going to implement the plan to demonize the abyss for all people?" At this time, Yihao suddenly spoke. Boom. Hearing this, Lianfeng's head exploded and went blank. She didn't expect that the master actually knew this plan. No wonder the master suddenly found her. It turned out that the master had known all this for a long time. Lianfeng's face was pale and cold sweat was dripping. She tried to stay calm, raised her head and looked at Yihao. "Master, I am yours now, so I will naturally not carry out any plan to demonize the whole people." Yihao smiled and stared at Lianfeng, saying, "Oh, really?" His expression was full of amusement. Yes. Lianfeng was extremely nervous, and her heart was in a panic. She didn't understand how Yihao knew all this. But what she could confirm was that the abyss demon in front of her absolutely knew everything about her, and even controlled everything. After all, she had no idea what kind of means this level of abyss demon had. What if I let you go?" Yihao smiled. Lianfeng was slightly stunned. Was he testing her? She was a little confused. However, she immediately reacted and said respectfully, "As long as it is a task assigned by the master, I will do it." At this point, she has no other choice. She has already lost everything. What else can she do? Yihao smiled faintly and stretched out his hand to hook Lianfeng's chin. Lianfeng has a beautiful face and delicate features. It is pleasing to the eye. Well, very good. Yihao praised Lianfeng. Then, he waved his hand and injected the abyss contract into the depths of Lianfeng's soul. It also included information about a sacrificial array that could quickly transform life into an abyss demon. After doing all this, Yihao directly ordered Lianfeng to leave. "Go and implement the plan of the abyss demonization of the whole people." Lianfeng left the mansion, and her body was wrapped in a hideous exoskeleton again. Her heart was full of complexity. She didn't expect that he would let her continue to implement the abyss demonization plan of the whole people. She didn't know whether this was a blessing or a curse, but she knew very well that she had no choice. After thinking about it, she flapped her wings and flew out of Juxia City. Yihao naturally had no intention of stopping the abyss demonization of the whole people. This would only benefit him and not harm him. He would even help China quickly complete the abyss demonization of the whole people. I don't know. After transforming the whole of China into an abyss demon, the gift of the abyss can improve his strength to what extent? And even if those humans become abyss demons, aren't they still just consumables? At most, they are higher-level consumables. In this case, why not do it? After thinking about it, Yihao's eyes fell on the angel Zhuwei who was hanging upside down again. Next, he would try to create a fallen angel. I wonder if it will work? Yihao's heart was full of expectations. He had a lot of blood of fallen angels in his hands. After all, in the endless abyss, killing can be seen everywhere. With his ability as a time shadow demon, it was too easy to collect some blood. He also had a lot of blood from other special demons. But these bloods were useless to him. He originally kept them for collection. Unexpectedly, they were put to use now. Angel Zhuwei's posture was elegant, and even if she was hanging upside down, she was not embarrassed at all. Her crystal-clear jade toes curled up uneasily. She was scared, because she found that Yihao was staring at her. Moreover, she keenly noticed that Yihao's eyes were aggressive, as if he wanted to eat her. No way. Here it comes again. Angel Zhuwei was so scared that her pretty face turned pale and her heart was terrified. Is this source of evil a perpetual motion machine? Doesn't it get tired at all? Angel Zhuwei stared at Yihao with a dull look in her eyes. She wanted to cry but couldn't. At this moment, she felt like every second was a year. Yihao ignored Angel Zhuwei's horrified look, walked over slowly, and lifted her chin with one hand. Are you scared now? Aren't you Kesha's high-level guardian angel? Aren't you very powerful? How did you become like this? Yihao laughed teasingly. Angel Zhuwei's pretty face turned red, and she wanted to find a crack in the ground to crawl into. She was actually afraid in front of the source of evil. Shameful. It's really shameful. However, although Angel Zhuwei was ashamed and angry, she was more afraid. Woohoo! Queen Kesha, please forgive me. I embarrassed you. Angel Zhuwei felt very wronged. As a high-level guardian angel, when has she ever been cowardly in front of others? But now, Angel Zhuwei is completely broken, because she feels that no one in this world can be more evil than the source of evil in front of her. Compared with him, Morgana of the demon civilization is far inferior. Chapter 47. Yihao smiled and stared at Angel Jue, who was trembling in front of him. Seeing her wanting to curl up like a kitten, he couldn't help laughing. He teased, "Tisk Tiske, she is indeed a high-level guardian angel trained by Kesha. Tiskes, even her, but is so perky." Snap, snap. Yihao patted her round and fragrant buttocks. Angel Jue was stunned. It was too insulting to angels. She glared at Yihao angrily and wanted to curse, but she could only make a whining sound. This made her even more embarrassed. Angel Jue stared at Yihao angrily, as if she wanted to bite him to death. "Hey, don't be impatient." Yihao smiled slightly. "The good show has just begun, and I will show you more things next." Angel Jue's pupils trembled when he heard this. Angel's wings couldn't help but tremble slightly. Yihao's eyes fell on Angel Jue's proud curves, and a wicked smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Then, he casually took out a transparent bottle from the space in his body, took out a drop of blood-red liquid from it, put it on his fingertips, and handed it to Angel Jue. "What is this?" Looking at the scarlet liquid on Yihao's fingertips, Angel Jue was a little confused. "This thing doesn't look like a good thing." Yihao smiled slightly, leaned close to Angel Jue's ear and whispered, "I'll give you a big gift." Angel Jue frowned and stared at Yihao in confusion. Yihao didn't explain too much, just slowly poured the bright red liquid into Angel Jue's body. Boom. When the scarlet liquid flowed into Angel Jue's body, she felt a wave of heat attacking her whole body, and her skin instantly turned red. "What is this?" Angel Jue's beautiful eyes flickered. She felt the burning energy in her body wandering through her limbs, making her muscles, bone marrow, and cells boil. At the same time, Yihao assisted Angel Jue in absorbing the blood power of the fallen angel through the abyss contract. Soon, Angel Jue felt a strong breath surge in her body, as if she was about to break out of her shell. Immediately afterwards, Angel Jue felt a dizziness in her mind, and then she fell asleep. Yihao looked at Angel Jue, who was beginning to transform, and his eyes lit up. It finally started. Yihao was looking forward to the end of her transformation. His body exuded a strong and unparalleled pressure, like a demon king, looking down on all directions. Fallen angel, it's really exciting. I don't know how much her combat power will soar when she successfully transforms and becomes a fallen angel. Yihao quietly waited for Angel Jue to wake up. I don't know if it will succeed. Of course, it doesn't matter even if it fails. It doesn't affect him, and there is still a lot of blood of fallen angels, so he will continue the experiment when the time comes. As for improving the abyss demon blood of Lianfeng, Qilin, Huilon, and others, Yihao has also considered it. However, it is extremely difficult to improve the abyss demon blood, and with his current strength, he cannot guarantee that it can be successfully achieved. Therefore, he temporarily put this idea aside and waited for the right time to make plans. As time passed, Angel Jue's figure gradually stopped fluctuating. A faint blood-red glow lingered around her. Yihao looked at Angel Jue, his eyes flashing with expectation. The angel's wings flapped, and a circle of blood-red ripples rippled. The originally flawless white wings gradually became stained with a little red. And just as Angel Jue was transforming, Tianhe City, in a residential building somewhere, Su Xiaoli watched the news on TV and kept rubbing her eyes, as if she didn't want to believe what she saw. "It's over. Woo. Why is my life so miserable?" Su Xiaoli never dreamed that the end of the world would come before she became successful. She thought she could make a lot of money by live streaming and reach the peak of her life. But today's news live broadcast said, China is facing a crisis of destruction and will be swallowed by the abyss demons and monsters. Moreover, there is a piece of news saying that the abyss demons and monsters have entered the scope of Tianhe City, and the general public should try not to go out. After hearing this, Su Xiaoli almost cried blind, because she lives nearby. Oh my God, what should I do? Su Xiaoli's charming eyes were full of panic and despair. She grabbed the bag next to her and planned to leave Tianhe City to avoid this disaster. To be honest, she didn't care whether China was destroyed or not, and it had nothing to do with her no matter how many people died. Because of her background and experience, she didn't love this country, didn't love her family, and she had no existence worth lingering on except herself. Even if China was destroyed, she wouldn't be sad. After all, she was a descendant of a fairy, and no one would love her. She won't love anyone. She must leave here now, because this terrible disaster is approaching her area. If she is involved, she probably won't live long. She doesn't want to die. Just when Su Xiaoli was about to go out, suddenly, Hello, everyone. I am Ajay from the National Security Bureau. Want to survive the end of the world? Want to have extraordinary power? Join the National Abyss Demonization. You will have the power to change the future. Ajay's passionate voice came from the TV that had not been turned off. Su Xiaoli was stunned. What's going on? Advertisement? Su Xiaoli was stunned. At this time, she noticed that the TV screen switched to a battle video of the Abyss Demon. Hiss, just a brief glance, Su Xiaoli gasped in fear. In the picture, several giant Abyss demons waved their steel claws and tore Chinese soldiers to pieces one after another. They were like visitors from hell, killing mercilessly. Although Su Xiaoli was quite courageous, she was also frightened when she saw these hideous and terrifying monsters. This scene was simply unbearable to watch. Su Xiaoli didn't even dare to continue watching. If she encountered such a thing, wouldn't she be torn to pieces alive? Thinking of this, Su Xiaoli's pretty face turned pale. The pink fox ears kept shaking because of fear, showing that she was extremely uneasy at the moment. But what does it mean for the whole people to be demonized by the abyss? Su Xiaoli hesitated for a moment and decided to finish watching the news. On TV, the host was introducing the importance of the whole people's demonization by the abyss. It is said that after the abyss demonization, one can obtain extraordinary power, extraordinary wisdom, and various superpowers. The most important thing is that after the abyss demonization, they will no longer look like humans. They have strong and invincible bodies, sharp teeth like blades, and claws as hard as iron. They even have strong flames that can easily burn down a city. What was said in the news was shocking. Su Xiaoli was stunned, especially when she heard Ajay say that she would become unrecognizable. She couldn't help but touch her cheek. Unrecognizable. Could it be that she would become an ugly monster? At this moment, Ajay continued to say that if she didn't undergo the abyss demonization, she would either die or become an irrational abyss monster. As Ajay spoke, he also played some extremely ugly videos of abyss monsters. Chapter 48. Call XXX. You can join the National Abyss Demonization. What are you waiting for? The opportunity is rare. It will never come again. Ajay's voice continued, but the smell of them made Su Xiaoli feel goosebumps all over her body. Abyss demonization. Su Xiaoli's mouth twitched, and she was a little hesitant. Aren't there succubi among the demons? Maybe. She can become a succubus, or other noble and beautiful demons. Su Xiaoli encouraged herself. Then, she took out her mobile phone and dialed the mobile phone number that was played repeatedly in the TV news. Inside the Super Seminary projection, the screen was also broadcasting this news. In fact, all the TV channels and networks in China were broadcasting this behavior. After all, the situation was critical and there was no time to waste. F***K. The end of the world. Is it true? What the hell is the Abyss Demon? Is it stronger than me, the god of war of no star? Lu Chuang was just lying lazily on the chair, but when he saw the news, he sat up immediately with a surprised expression on his face. He was really curious and wanted to see what those legendary Abyss Demons were. It's over. It's over. I'm still a virgin, and the end of the world is coming. I don't want to die. Gu Xiaoluan suddenly wailed, then hugged his head and cried bitterly. Tears. He was brought here for training for no apparent reason. He was also told that he was the power of the galaxy. But he felt that he was nothing but a scum except that he could take a beating. He couldn't even beat that old rogue Lu Chuang. Now, the end of the world is coming. It's really going to be GG. Lu Chuang rolled his eyes and kicked him twice. Coward. Do you deserve to have super genes? Yours is a waste. After that, he turned his head and looked at Rui Mingming, who was also a little scared. Mingming, don't be afraid. I will not be yours. Yeah. Mingming, don't be afraid. Rui Mingming nodded and clenched her fists to encourage herself. I really don't want to die. Gu Xiaoluan still lowered his head, with a barely perceptible blood-red light flashing in his eyes. This sign indicated that he had been eroded by the power of the abyss. However, fortunately, this erosion is still in a very early stage and has little impact on him. Similarly, Lu Chuang and the others also had a faint hint of blood-red light in their eyes. Zhao Exine shook his hair and said carelessly, Damn, the end of the world? This is like an international joke. Brother Monkey, this can't be true? He couldn't help but look at Sun Wukong, who was sitting quietly next to him and didn't say much. Sun Wukong looked up at the ceiling and said indifferently, It's true. What the hell? Zhao Exine widened his eyes. It's all true. Sun Wukong said it again. Zhao Xian. At this time, Lu Chuang suddenly walked to Sun Wukong and bent down. He stared at Sun Wukong and asked, "Brother Monkey, is our Earth really going to end?" Sun Wukong nodded. "So serious?" Lu Chuang frowned and asked, "Then, is the demonization of all people real?" Sun Wukong nodded again. Can I ask?" Rui Mingming blinked and raised her hand weakly to ask, what is the demonization of all people?" Lu Chuang. "It means that you will become like those ugly monsters, and then you will become stronger. Do you understand?" Rui Mingming. "Oh, I understand. Thank you." Zhao Xian, Cheng Yaowen and others, Rui Mingming's "I understand" immediately confused everyone. "Well, monkey brother, will you also undergo the demonization of the abyss?" Lu Chuang continued to ask. Suddenly, bang, the door was kicked open. A female voice came. Hey, 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 why is there no one to greet this goddess? Is this how you treat guests on Earth?" Accompanied by the voice, a black figure walked in. A beautiful face appeared in front of everyone. She was wearing a black windbreaker and a miniskirt, a pair of long black over-the-knee leather boots, reddish-brown hair, delicate features, and fair skin. The most important thing is that her figure is extremely hot, which can be called a devil figure. F***K. You scared me. Lu Chuang stood up suddenly. His eyes widened and he roared, "Who the hell are you?" Bang, before he finished speaking, he was kicked in the chest, and the whole person was kicked away and hit the wall directly. Lu Chuang was stunned. F***K. Who hit me? Me. Your goddess, the light of the sun, Dilina. Dilina held her head high and looked arrogant. She was very happy in her heart. Pan Jinyo, that old guy, finally let this goddess come to Earth. However, no one from the Super God Academy greeted this goddess, which was simply unreasonable. This goddess came to help. Is this the way of hospitality on Earth? As the saying goes, courtesy is reciprocity. You dare to neglect this goddess like this goddess will definitely get back at you. Dilina, enough. Sun Wukong stood up suddenly. He looked at her coldly. This beautiful, carefree brown-haired beauty is Dilina. Although she is not very old, she is the main god of the Liang civilization and has a noble status. Especially since the Liang civilization is one of the few god-making civilizations in the known universe, Dilina's status is extremely high. But Sun Wukong's attitude made Dilina's heart tremble. This damn monkey didn't give this goddess any face. This goddess ran over to help. Isn't it worthy of respect? She won't admit that she came to Earth to play. Anyway, she came to help. Humph. Dilina snorted coldly, but did not leave. Instead, she sat on the sofa with her legs crossed. This goddess doesn't care about you mortals. Hurry up and get food for this goddess. After the words fell, her slender fingers finally stopped on the bag of potato chips on the table. Then, she took out a potato chip, put it into her mouth, closed her lips lightly, and chewed it carefully. The potato chips made a crisp crunch, crunch sound, and a satisfied and happy expression appeared on her face while chewing. Woo-woo-woo. I haven't eaten it for a long time. Dilina squinted her beautiful eyes and enjoyed this pleasant moment. Rui Mingming. She couldn't help but cast a strange look at Dilina. Poor goddess. Are you so happy to eat a piece of cake? Zhao Xian touched his nose and sighed in his heart. Oh my god. This goddess has a good figure. I like it. Brother monkey. Lu Chuang recovered and moved to Sun Wukong, whispering, what did she say her name was? Dilina? The main god of Liang civilization? Is it true? Sun Wukong nodded. Why would she come here? Before Sun Wukong could answer, Dilina's voice sounded again. Hey, that monkey. What the hell is the abyss demonization of the whole people? She looked at the news that was constantly playing on the projection screen, with a confused face. What the hell is this? What abyss demons, abyss monsters? Why do they sound so weird? Zhao Xian and others also perked up, although they knew some of the situation, but the specific inside story was still unclear. Sun Wukong looked at Dilina, then at the curious people, and after a long pause, he began to tell the details of the situation. When everyone listened to Sun Wukong's story, everyone's expression looked very strange. Brother monkey, are what you said true? Yes. Sun Wukong nodded. Gu Xiaoluan suddenly reached out to cover his head, revealing a painful expression and muttered. Juxia City is a city with millions of people. Just gone like that? Rui Mingming, Zhao Xian and others also looked very ugly. That's millions of human beings. Just gone like that. The only thing to be thankful for is that their relatives have been taken to the Super God Academy with them. At this time, Sun Wukong's voice sounded. Don't think too much. Things have come to this point. What's the use of being sentimental? If you really want revenge, you should become stronger as soon as possible. Deal with the abyss demons, abyss monsters, and alien civilizations. Only with sufficient strength can these tragic experiences be avoided. Hearing this, everyone looked up at Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong nodded, and after a long silence, he said, "This matter is indeed very cruel. I am also very sad, but the facts are in front of us. If you want to change the status quo, you must work hard to become stronger. This world is big and full of dangers. So, whether it is for the sake of your relatives and friends, or for the sake of the hundreds of millions of Chinese people, or for more complicated emotions, I, old son, hope that you can all remember one sentence. Only by being alive can you have a chance." The expressions of the crowd became solemn, and they focused on reality. Sun Wukong turned his head to look at Dilena, and said seriously, "Dilena, I welcome you to come to Earth to support us, but I must remind you not to provoke the Abyss Demon in Jusha City. That guy is not a joke. Its power is unfathomable. Even I, old son, feel palpitations. If you accidentally provoke it, I'm afraid even I can't protect you." Is this a warning to her? Dilena pouted, and didn't take Sun Wukong's words seriously at all. What a joke. How could the main god of the Liang civilization be afraid of the Abyss Demon? She sneered, got up from the sofa, and said proudly, "Don't worry, that guy can't do anything to me." But, monkey, are those things you said true or false? How come this is like a novel? Sun Wukong glared at her. "Be careful and you will be safe." "Ha ha ha, monkey, you are really going backwards as you grow older, and you are still fighting against the Buddha. What endless abyss demons, are all worthless in front of this goddess. I am the light of the sun, a great existence that can drive the stars. If the world is really going to perish, then I will become the sun and reshape this world. Even those abyss demons, as long as they see this goddess, they will have to kneel down and beg for mercy. Mortals, stop talking nonsense. This goddess will let you see how I blow those abyss demons up to the sky." After that, Dilena got up and left, very cool. Everyone was stunned for a while, and then shook their heads helplessly. Alas, is this really a goddess? This personality is too jumpy. "Dilena, you stop right there." Sun Wukong shouted angrily and rushed forward to intercept Dilena. "Didn't you hear anything I just said?" Tisk, Dilena rolled her eyes at him. "Just a bunch of monsters. What's there to be afraid of?" As she said that, she waved her hand. Boom. A hot ball of light with a diameter of more than 100 meters suddenly appeared and hung above the sky. Dilena opened her arms, closed her eyes, raised her head and chest, as if the whole world was surrendering to her feet. A vast and majestic momentum swept out. As the main god of the Liang civilization, Dilena naturally has the capital to be proud. Although she didn't know the specific strength of the so-called Abyss Demon, she believed that she was absolutely capable of defeating the other party. "Dilena, are you crazy?" Sun Wukong looked ugly. Dilena ignored him at all, and golden light flowed in her eyes. Boom. She merged with the dazzling and hot ball of light, turned into a dazzling rainbow light, and flew towards Jusha City. Damn it! Sun Wukong cursed. He didn't dare to let Dilena act recklessly. After all, no one knew what would happen if the terrifying Abyss Demon was angered. Unfortunately, Dilena didn't pay any attention to him at all, and her speed became faster and faster, and finally disappeared. Stupid and arrogant girl. Sun Wukong laughed extremely, cursed secretly, and immediately summoned the somersault cloud. Halala. His figure shook slightly, and in the blink of an eye, he turned into a flash of lightning and disappeared. A moment later, Dilena arrived near Jusha City. She was suspended in the sky and looked down, and saw the devastated city. This once prosperous and powerful city has now become history. In addition to being shrouded in blood mist and a mess, there was no corpse, which looked very strange. But this is normal. Flesh and blood soul is the nourishment for the growth of abyss demons and monsters. Dilena frowned and whispered, "Is this the disaster caused by the Abyss Demon? It's so scary. Is this monster really as scary as the monkey said?" She is a little discouraged now, but when she thinks of the bold words she said, she suddenly feels unwilling. She is the noble light of the sun. How can she be frightened by the Abyss Demon? At most, I can throw a few more flares to bomb and flatten this place, and that's it. Humph. No matter how powerful it is, even if an accident really happens, I can still run away. Thinking of this, Dilena suddenly felt confident, and she didn't notice that a ray of red light quietly lit up in her eyes. Buzz! The next moment, Dilina burst into dazzling golden light all over her body, like a rising sun, shooting towards outer space. Boom! Accompanied by a violent explosion, Dilina broke through the atmosphere and entered the vast universe. I am the light of the sun. I represent the eternal and blazing sun and burn away the darkness in the world. Rumble. A large amount of stellar energy poured in, making Dilina's power even more terrifying, emitting a scorching wave of destruction, suffocating. Dilina stood proudly in the universe, like a goddess in the flames, shining brightly. Not good. Sun Wukong was late after all. He saw this scene from afar, and his heart stabbed hard. He knew very well that with such a big commotion, the terrifying existence in Juxia City would definitely be able to detect it. To be honest, the most rational choice now is. He immediately withdrew, no longer caring about Dilina's life or death. However, Dilina came to support the Earth on behalf of the Fiery Sun civilization. If he lost his life like this, he would feel guilty. Sun Wukong sighed lightly, gritted his teeth, and his eyes gradually became firm. Let's fight. The next moment, Sun Wukong jumped up, stepped into the air, and flew straight towards Dilina. The city center of Juxia. Qilin and He Weilon are directing their ice demons to build the demon city. I saw a magnificent city built entirely of ice rising from the ground. It was engraved with dense and strange symbols, exuding a cold and frosty atmosphere, like a ghost city born from the depths of hell. That's about it. Qilin stretched out her jade arms, feeling the frosty air around her, and a faint smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. I wonder if the master likes it? Qilin was happy in her heart. She decided to go to the master to report her work later, hoping that he would praise her. This ice crystal demon city is really spectacular. He Weilon looked at the magnificent city and was amazed. The modern metropolis and this rough ice crystal city have completely different styles. Next. Chapter 49. He Weilon witnessed with his own eyes that the ice demons miraculously built a magnificent city made entirely of ice in just over a day. This is simply incredible. He Weilon couldn't help but think to himself, I didn't expect that the power of the abyss demons can be used for more than just killing. They are actually equally good at construction and manufacturing. However, the abyss demons will naturally not admit this. This will only be a humiliation to them, rather than praise. Just as Qilin and He Weilon were immersed in their own world, suddenly, a sense of crisis made their faces condense. What is that? They raised their heads and looked at the horizon through the thick blood mist. They saw two suns hanging in the sky. Among them, one was the sun that originally existed between heaven and earth, and the other was the sun that suddenly appeared. Is this another enemy? Qilin frowned slightly, and she felt the threat brought to her by the sun that had just appeared. However, she was not afraid, because the master was standing behind her. She firmly believed that with the master's invincible power, he would definitely be able to resolve this crisis. Qilin was even a little eager to try. She thought that if she could resolve this enemy, she might be able to gain the master's favor. When the time came, Qilin's heart was moved when she thought of this. Her face turned red, and she was full of anticipation. She seemed to see the master ravaging her. What's wrong with you? He Weilon was surprised to find that Qilin's face was red and her eyes were watery. I'm fine. Qilin hurriedly shook her head to deny it, but her shy look clearly showed that she was guilty. Nothing? He Weilon was puzzled, and then seemed to think of something, and understood it instantly. Her pretty face turned red and teased. You didn't think of some scenes that are not suitable for children, did you? I didn't. Qilin's face turned red, and she refuted, but the pounding in her heart exposed her panic and thoughts. She didn't realize that she had never been like this before. All this is because she is increasingly eager for the favor of her master. On the other side, Qiangwei is hunting and capturing abyss demons and monsters. She did this naturally to become stronger and complete the task assigned to her by Yi Hao. Her current strength has been upgraded to that of a little demon, peak period. As a void demon, her combat power is stronger than that of an ordinary abyss demon. Moreover, she has already memorized the basic abilities in the memory of the inheritance of the void demon. As the saying goes, practice makes perfect, just repeat it again. After a little practice, Rose quickly mastered the basic abilities of the void demon. As for the more advanced innate abilities, they need to be slowly mastered after the strength is improved. Rose's current goal is very clear. Get stronger. She wants to become stronger. Only in this way can she regain her freedom and protect what she wants to protect. Rose's eyes are firmly fixed on the group of hideous and terrifying abyss monsters. One after another, illusory tentacles spread out from the void and pierced into the bodies of the abyss monsters, absorbing their flesh and souls. She even ignored the terrifying eyes above the sky that were soaring in the sky, and focused on absorbing the flesh and souls of the abyss monsters. These abyss monsters are weak in strength, but there are many of them. If they can absorb enough flesh and souls, she believes that she should be able to reach the level of a lower demon soon. At the same time, in the space, Qilin stood there proudly, with a solemn look on her beautiful face. She was surrounded by extremely hot golden flames, like a burning sun, illuminating the dark night sky and shining the area within a few kilometers. She had a graceful figure and fair skin, and her every move was filled with majestic power fluctuations, making people dare not approach. So strong. Not far away, Sun Wukong looked at the girl shrouded in brilliant golden light, and a solemn look appeared in his eyes. Qilin now gave him a strong sense of oppression. Maybe this stupid and arrogant little girl can bring him some surprises. Sun Wukong opened his fire eyes and carefully observed every detail of Qilin. He found that Qilina's body seemed to have some special ability, which allowed her to control extremely terrifying stellar energy. This energy level is much stronger than the attack that the angel chased before. I hope it's not a fake trick. Sun Wukong thought in his heart and silently took out the Rui Jingu Bang. Summon all the clones. Be ready for battle. Once the arrow is shot, there is no turning back. Since he has chosen to face the terrifying abyss demon together with Qilin, he will naturally go all out. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying wave surged around Qilin, and waves of surging star energy spread out, causing the surrounding temperature to soar sharply. The star energy is almost gathered. Let the flare bombardment send you on your way. Qilin slowly closed her eyes, and a trace of determination appeared on her exquisite little face. Then she opened her eyes, and a terrifying brilliance bloomed in her eyes. Buzz! The next moment, thousands of flares suddenly burst out from Qilina's body. These flares gathered in the void beside her, forming dense light balls, which made people's scalps numb and dizzy. Swish! Qilina's slender fingers lightly touched, and the endless light balls turned into a sky full of light rain and flew towards Juxia City. Is this the light of the sun? It can actually manipulate such a huge amount of star energy? Looking at these star energies that were like falling meteors, even Sun Wukong took a breath of cold air. Stellar drive technology is the core science of Liang civilization skills, and the sunlight is the epitome of it. The sun god, the leader of the Liang civilization, who was also Reina's grandfather, used it to detonate the stars of the Dinner Galaxy, creating a devastating catastrophe. This also led to the Liang star being split in half by the first generation of the No Star Wars god with an axe. A new cosmic wonder was formed. Although this cosmic wonder is an eternal pain for the Lion civilization. But no matter what, the sunlight is definitely one of the top god-making projects with infinite power. This technology is really terrifying. Looking at the bright flare torrent that covered half of the sky, Sun Wukong couldn't help but sigh. Qilin, Qiangwei, and He Weilon were also shocked by this terrifying scene. This scene is even more exaggerated than the special effects in the movie. Those terrifying flare torrents, carrying the terrifying energy of destruction poured down towards Juxia City. Meteorites shattered, and even the air was torn apart along the way, producing a terrifying whistling sound. That kind of power was as if the end of the world had arrived. Qilin stared blankly at the countless flares rushing towards her, and was surprised. She originally thought that she could solve this enemy and gain the favor of the master, but the reality made her helpless. The attack released by the opponent was obviously not something she could contend with now. The flares contained a terrifying power of destruction. Just a little bit of the aftermath made Qilin feel cold all over, as if she had fallen into the cold pond of the 9 netherworlds. It seems that the master still needs to take action. Qilin raised her little head and looked at the flare torrent above the sky. A hint of loss appeared in the bottom of her eyes. She was still too weak and could not help the master at all. Qilin, how do you think the master will solve this crisis? He Weilon suddenly asked. She was also shocked by the horrific scene in front of her. However, she did not lose her composure like last time, but was very calm. Hearing what He Weilon said, Qilin pondered for a moment, then shook her head and said, I don't know, but the master will definitely be able to solve it. She now has no doubt about her trust in her master, Even if the sky falls, the master can withstand it. Qilin has had this feeling more than once, so she has never doubted her master's ability. Hualon heard this and nodded in agreement. As for those ice demons, they were a little panicked. But they also knew that there was a terrifying and majestic existence behind them. The city they were building now was the Demon City. It was built under the order of that majestic existence. Therefore, they had great confidence in that majestic existence. They believed that as long as that majestic existence was there, no enemy could destroy them. Qiangwei looked at the terrifying flare torrents and frowned slightly. She didn't expect that the other party could release such an amazing attack. With such power, even she felt the strong danger of death. Of course, with her ability as a void demon, it was no problem for her to leave this area to protect herself. However, she was not in a hurry to escape. She also wanted to see how strong the master who enslaved her was. Rose wanted to see the other party's strength with her own eyes, so that she could be stimulated to become stronger. She wanted to grow up and become a more powerful existence than that man. Suddenly, a sneer resounded throughout the sky, and then, a huge figure appeared out of thin air in the torrent of flares that filled the sky. It was Yihao. Angel Chaser was about to successfully transform into a fallen angel. He was in a good mood. But now he was alarmed by the noise made by Dilena. Especially, the torrent of flares released by this middle school goddess was quite powerful. He needed to take action to solve it himself. This made him a little unhappy. Hualala. Behind Yihao, there were dark devil wings flapping. An invisible wave swept around with him as the center. In an instant, everything around him seemed to be in a state of stillness, including the endless flare torrent that came quickly. This is the time slowdown that Yihao mastered when he was promoted to the middle demon, peak period. Time has stopped? Dilena raised her eyebrows slightly, and there was a trace of shock in her extremely beautiful eyes. Such strange means and skills surprised her. The power of time? Could this guy master the power of time? She was a little surprised. She had never seen anyone with the power of time, and it seemed that this guy seemed to be very skilled in it. Sun Wukong's pupils also shrank, full of shock. He saw clearly through his fiery eyes. The moment Yihao waved his wings, time seemed to slow down, and the flare torrents that came quickly appeared in his eyes like slow motion. Could this terrifying abyss demon have mastered the time-related ability that defied the heavens? It's over. It's completely over. He didn't think that he and Dilena could defeat this abyss demon together. The power of this abyss demon is simply beyond their control. Is this time slowing down? The master actually controls the time system ability. Rose was also frightened by this sudden scene. This was the first time she encountered such an incredible thing. As the former space-time Rose and now the void demon, she knew the horror of the time ability very well. This is the supreme ability that is superior to all systems such as the space system and the element system. The existence of mastering the time ability, no matter where you are, is almost the level of being the king. Rose's heart was complicated. She knew very well that it was almost impossible for her to escape from the other party's control in this life. Even if she was a void demon, a high-level abyss demon in the endless abyss, so what? In front of the abyss demon of the time system like the other party, she was still vulnerable. Because according to the inherited memory of the void demon, the abyss demons that generally control time are often the top abyss demons of the space-time system. Qiangwei couldn't help but think of the scene when she was captured before. She used the wormhole technology to teleport quickly. She couldn't escape from the other party's palm. She was finally captured. Such a terrifying existence is not something she can resist at all. No matter how hard she struggles, it will be in vain. Does it mean that I really have to accept my fate? Qiangwei felt bitter in her heart. She wanted to regain her freedom, but now it seems that it is a luxury. As for revenge, this is even more of a foolish dream. This made her very depressed, and even felt desperate. I knew the master could solve it. Qilin's face suddenly showed joy when she saw Yihao appear. At this moment, Yihao seemed to have become the only pillar in her heart, making her feel an indescribable sense of security. That feeling is very strange. Qilin didn't know how to describe it. She could only say that it was very warm and comfortable, very special, and very wonderful. Hualon couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when she saw this scene. She also believed that the master could solve this problem. The ice demons knelt on the ground. They looked at Yihao with awe, because the powerful strength shown by Yihao was enough to make them worship from the bottom of their hearts. Boom! At this moment, Yihao's body burst out with a terrifying suction force, wanting to swallow the sky-filled flare torrent into his body and become the protagonist. I have to admit that Delina is indeed a very easy-to-use power bank. Duh. Not only easy to use, but also pleasing to the eyes. As for the technology monkey, it has some strength but not much. Anyway, it is definitely not comparable to the legendary Monkey King Sun Wukong, although they are all called Sun Wukong. Unfortunately, the heavens and the worlds are endless and infinite, and I don't know when I can meet those mythical beings. Yihao's mouth was indifferent. In his opinion, although these flare torrents contain terrifying destructive power, they do not have any lethality to him. Therefore, he used the time-slowing skill without hesitation to confine these flare torrents, and then absorb them into his body. Chi. The power of the abyss in Yihao's body seemed to be boiling, constantly devouring these energies, and finally merging into every cell, causing them to grow wildly. So cool. Yihao squinted his eyes, feeling the surging power like a tide, and couldn't help but moaning softly. This feeling of constantly getting stronger is so wonderful that it arouses the primitive impulse of the abyss demon more than anything else. Swish! Yihao suddenly opened his eyes, and two scarlet beams burst out, like sharp arrows, tearing the sky. He glanced at Delina and Sun Wukong in the distance. Delina's delicate body trembled. In the short time just now, she clearly noticed that the energy level released by the other party had skyrocketed several times. And this change has not stopped, and there is even a trend of intensification. Oops! Delina felt a headache. The strength of this abyss demon was getting stronger and stronger. Unexpectedly, the stellar energy she gathered directly helped the other party. What to do now? Delina was a little panicked. If she continued to stalemate, the chances of winning would be slim. Delina, charge me quickly. At this moment, Sun Wukong on the side urged anxiously. The situation is not good now, and he can't care so much. He is ready to go all out and destroy it. The monkey dies and the bird flies to the sky, and it will never die. Chapter 50. Sun Wukong is not a monkey who sits and waits for death. He is the fighting Buddha. It's just that the energy he needs to use his ultimate power is too huge. If he absorbs the energy by himself, it will probably take a long time. Now that Delina's power bank is here, it won't take too long. I hope it's in time. Sun Wukong has no idea now. Buzz. Delina didn't refuse. She immediately separated a part of the star energy and sent it into Sun Wukong's body. Suddenly, Sun Wukong's body was full of golden light, like a god, with an amazing aura that shocked the world. At the same time, the prompt sound of the dark plane system sounded in his mind. The law of heaven and earth is starting. Insufficient energy, charging 1%, charging 2%, charging 3%. While charging, Sun Wukong stared at Yihao in the distance nervously, guarding against any tricks from Yihao. After all, Yihao's strength was abnormal, and he was afraid that if he was careless, the other party would take the opportunity to attack him. However, Yihao did not pay attention to Sun Wukong's actions. He was still devouring those flare bombardments. He wanted to take the free energy. The only flaw was that the gap between the middle demon and the upper demon could not be easily crossed by stellar energy alone. Today, Yihao is still a middle demon, peak period. However, he believed that as long as the abyss demonization of all people on Lianfeng's side was completed, he could directly and quickly defeat the upper demon, growth period, and step into the upper demon, mature period. At this time, big drops of sweat seeped out from Delina's forehead, and she felt a little overwhelmed. The devouring ability of this abyss demon is too strong. She has been extremely exhausted from controlling so much stellar energy. If she continues, she is worried that her body can't bear this kind of oppression. Tudge. Hold on. Delina gritted her teeth and held on. At this moment, Sun Wukong also noticed Delina's condition. He looked at the dark plane, the charging progress bar in the system, frowned and asked, Delina, how are you? It doesn't matter. You sell it? Delina shook her head. She tried to maintain the operation of the star energy and continued to increase the output force 24, hoping to help Sun Wukong complete the charging as soon as possible. This time she was arrogant. She didn't expect the strength of this abyss demon to be so terrifying. She originally wanted to rely on star energy to crush the opponent directly, but who would have expected that the opponent would be so domineering that he could control the power of time and devour star energy? At this moment, Delina was really a little scared. However, she didn't dare to give up, because she knew that if she gave up, then waiting what will happen to her. She didn't think that this terrifying abyss demon could forgive her. After all, she was sitting at home when a flare bombed the sky. If she put herself in her shoes, She would definitely be furious if this happened to her. Sun Wukong sighed when he saw Dilina like this, and then his eyes suddenly turned cold, and a terrifying aura filled his body. Boom. Charge 100%. Charge completed. Law of heaven and earth activated. Sun Wukong pushed the energy to the peak in an instant. Boom. In an instant, the void exploded, and a towering figure stretched across the universe. This figure was 100 feet tall, and was covered with black golden lines, mighty and majestic, like a mythical god of war. He held the Rui golden cudgel as big as a mountain in his hand, stepped on the starry sky, and his aura was overwhelming, shocking the four fields, as if he was going to suppress the universe. This is Sun Wukong, who has opened the law of heaven and earth. Roar. Sun Wukong roared to the sky, his voice piercing the clouds and cracking the rocks, shaking the 9 heavens, and the vast and infinite power surged to his limbs and bones, giving him an illusion of invincibility. I didn't expect this monkey to have this trick. Dilina was also slightly surprised when she saw this scene, but she was relieved immediately. The stronger Sun Wukong's strength is, the lower their risk factor is. Monkey, don't waste time. You can't hold on for long in this state. As Dilina said this, she threw the star energy again. Bang! Then, the star energy was absorbed into Sun Wukong's body, causing the energy in his body to rise rapidly, and his breath became stronger. Sun Wukong also knew that his state could not be sustained for a long time. Otherwise, the consequences would be unpredictable. So, he decided to take action. Evildoer, take my stick. Sun Wukong shouted. His body shook, and he instantly killed Yi Hao. His clones followed closely and killed him. This terrifying and unparalleled force swept the world and shook the 4 directions. Bang! Sun Wukong waved the Rui Jingu Bang in his hand and smashed it down fiercely. This was Sun Wukong's strongest blow. With one blow, even the air seemed to be blown up, causing ripples. Seeing this, Dilina also increased the intensity of the flare bombardment. The two of them joined forces and used all their stellar energy to attack, wanting to destroy each other in one fell swoop. Boom, however, what Dilina and Sun Wukong didn't expect was that Yi Hao didn't dodge at all. It seemed that he ignored the attacks of the two. When their attacks just entered the time-slowing area, they were like being stuck in a quagmire, slowly stagnating in midair. Seeing this scene, Dilina and Sun Wukong's faces suddenly sank. Especially Sun Wukong. He has now rushed into the time-slowing area, although the degree of time slowing here is relatively small. However, his speed is also constantly weakening. Damn, I didn't expect his time ability to be so powerful that it can affect my offensive. Sun Wukong's face was very gloomy. He couldn't even touch Yi Hao now, which was not a good thing for them. Yi Hao's indifferent eyes swept over Sun Wukong and Dilina, and a playful smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Your attacks are useless to me. After saying that, he raised his hand and immediately those new flares flew towards him. Seeing this scene, Sun Wukong and Dilina's faces sank. This situation is extremely unfavorable to them. What can we do? Dilina frowned, feeling extremely anxious. Goddess, I have reported the situation here to General Pan Zhen, and he has led his men to support us. At this time, a figure flew over from a distance. It was the Mao god sent by Pan Zhen to secretly protect Dilina. At first, when Dilina released flares to bombard the fallen city, he did not think the situation was serious, and just made a simple report. However, when Yi Hao showed that weird time-slowing skill, he realized that the situation was not good, and immediately contacted Liangsing for support. Although he had heard of time-related abilities before, he had never really seen its horror. Who could have thought that Dilina would provoke such a terrifying existence in less than a day on Earth? After Pan Zhen got the news, he was so angry that he almost blew up the remaining half of Liang's star. He never thought that he would send Dilina to Earth. She would cause a huge disaster right after he put her on Earth. He also got himself involved. Pan Zhen is now very annoyed and depressed, and even wants to pull Dilina back and beat her up immediately. Unfortunately, the distance is far, and he needs time to come to rescue. Mao Shen, is that old Pan Zhen coming to support? Dilina's pretty face showed surprise when she heard this. If Pan Zhen really came to support, then she would be saved. After all, Pan Zhen is the patron saint of Liang's star. His strength is unfathomable, and he is also a top master in the known universe. Yes. Mao Shen nodded solemnly, and his eyes were filled with fear when he looked at Yi Hao. What kind of existence is this, and why does he have such terrible means? He felt that Yi Hao was definitely not a good person, and he also controlled the ability of the time system. Mao Shan knew in his heart that such an enemy was too terrible, and it was not appropriate to fight with him. He must escape as soon as possible. Otherwise, he would die miserably. Goddess, you go first. I'll hold this guy back. Mao Shan looked at Dilina on the side and said in a serious tone, Dilina is in a very bad state now. She has already overloaded her output. If she continues to stay, she will definitely suffer a backlash. Dilina looked at Yihao worriedly. She knew how terrifying the guy was. If she left, Mao Shan and Sun Wukong would definitely not be spared. Goddess, I beg you. If this goes on, we will all die here. Mao Shan knelt in the void, very earnest. Go. You can't help if you stay. At this moment, Sun Wukong's voice suddenly came out. Dilina was silent for a moment, then turned into a stream of light and flew away. Seeing Dilina leave, Mao Shan finally breathed a sigh of relief. He looked at Yihao with determination in his eyes. Even if he died here today, he would never retreat. Still want to run? Yihao looked at all this calmly. He snorted coldly, and then gently hooked his claws. In an instant, the space around Dilina seemed to have turned into a quagmire, making it difficult for her to move. Not good. Dilina felt the power of slowing down time around her, and her pretty face was slightly cold. It's over. Was the Abyss Demon playing a trick on her before? Dilina cursed in her heart. She originally thought that she could escape, but she didn't expect that the opponent's time slowing down would directly trap her in place, making her unable to move. Swish. Suddenly, Yihao stretched out his claws and reached forward, through the shadow dimension, and directly grabbed the head of the hairy god in his claws. Puff. The hairy god only had time to scream, and Yihao completely crushed his head and devoured his body and soul. Dilina was stunned. She didn't expect the situation to develop to this point. The god of hair was killed instantly? How powerful is that abyss demon? Dilina was shocked and couldn't calm down for a long time. Then, an uncontrollable sadness spread in her heart. God of hair, I have implicated you. She bit her teeth, tears flashing in her beautiful eyes. Sun Wukong also noticed the scene here at this time, and his face changed wildly. He didn't expect that the abyss demon had this trick, and actually killed Dilina's subordinates in seconds. This caught him off guard. The most important thing is that he can't do it even if he wants to fight, within the range of time slowing down. Even if he used the law of heaven and earth, he still couldn't do anything to him. Sun Wukong, kneel down. At this moment, Yihao shouted suddenly. Buzz. In an instant, the energy in Sun Wukong's body surged, and a huge sense of oppression instantly enveloped his body. That kind of pain made him unbearable. I don't believe you can really be invincible. Sun Wukong's eyes were red, and he roared to the sky. However, no matter how he struggled and resisted, he still couldn't change the result of being tied up. I am the Fighting Buddha Sun Wukong. How can I surrender? Haha, Fighting Buddha? Sure enough, a technology monkey is a technology monkey. Yihao's mouth showed a trace of sarcasm, and his eyes swept over Sun Wukong coldly. He opened his mouth and sucked, swallowing all the remaining flare bombardment. Then, he casually waved a claw towards Sun Wukong. Bang, bang, bang. In the face of such an attack, Sun Wukong was completely unable to resist. The golden hoop in his hand instantly broke, and then the whole person was hit hard, and his body shot backwards rapidly. Bang! Sun Wukong's chest was pierced by Yihao, and his body flew dozens of miles away and fell in the distance. He was beaten out of the state of Fatan Xiangdi and returned to his original form. He climbed up with difficulty, spitting blood from his mouth, and his body was stained with blood. At this moment, Sun Wukong's face was distorted, and his eyes were full of horror and panic. He never thought that this abyss demon was so strong. Just one attack, and he was seriously injured. Sun Wukong's heart was filled with turmoil. Yihao stretched out his claws and lifted up Sun Wukong's head, his eyes cold, and said, Fighting Buddha? I don't like it. Sun Wukong held his breath in his heart, but he was helpless. The opponent was too strong. This was the strongest person he had ever met. Even in Sun Wukong's memory, he had never seen such a terrifying existence. This guy, it is simply a demon god, rarely seen in the world. Suddenly, Yihao shot out several red lights, which penetrated into the center of Sun Wukong's forehead. What is this? Sun Wukong felt the abnormal changes in his body and screamed in horror, because he felt waves of intense pain, as if endless insects and ants were gnawing at his body. Yihao looked at all this with a calm face. As the initiator, he naturally knew what was going on. He just injected an abyss contract into Sun Wukong's body, as well as of the blood of some ape-like abyss demons. For example, the bloodthirsty demon ape, the thunder war ape, the poisonous mist ape, the lava giant ape, etc. He is now very curious whether Sun Wukong can withstand the impact of these powerful abyss blood. If he can't bear it, Sun Wukong's body will be broken by these abyss blood. By then, even if Sun Wukong is not killed, he will be exploded and killed. Sun Wukong feels the horrible blood in his body raging wildly. His body seems to be burning. Sun Wukong's expression is hideous and terrible. Horror. Ah! Sun Wukong screamed hysterically. He felt like he was about to lose control. A faint smile flashed in Yi Hao's eyes. He ignored Sun Wukong, just threw him to Japan, and walked straight to Dilena. As for whether Sun Wukong could transform successfully, he didn't care, just laid a chess piece casually. If it succeeded, it would be an unexpected surprise. Anyway, with the Abyss contract, this Sun Wukong must obey him. If it fails, it will be worthless. You? Don't come over. Dilena's pretty face was pale at this moment. Looking at Yi Hao, who was gradually approaching her, her beautiful eyes were filled with fear. She had no way to retreat now. Yi Hao's method completely frightened her. What's worse is that she couldn't find any way to resist. She just tried to gather stellar energy, but found that an invisible force was imprisoning her, making her unable to mobilize her power for a minute. In this way, what's the difference between her and the lamb to be slaughtered? The only good news is that the state of time slowing down disappeared, but she still couldn't run away. This made Dilena very depressed. Don't worry, I won't eat you, Yi Hao said in a relaxed tone. Hearing his words, Dilena was slightly relieved, and her tense nerves were slightly relieved. As long as she didn't die, everything else would be fine. When the time comes, Panjin will come to the earth and will definitely come to save her. Yi Hao looked Dilena up and down, with a slight smile on his lips, revealing a playful look. She looks okay, and she can be a secret bed. What do you mean by looking okay? What do you know? I'm the beauty pageant champion, Dilena said angrily, and glared at Yi Hao at the same time. It was quite intimidating, but not very lethal, and only made her cute. Yi Hao shook his head. This middle school goddess was really funny. She had come to this point, but she would still refute him for her appearance. I wonder where she got the courage from. Yi Hao was too lazy to talk nonsense, so he picked her up and turned away. Although Dilena resisted with all her might, it was useless.
Thanks for watching. You can find the next videos in the playlist linked in the info card, directly on my channel, or right here on the screen. And as always, if you have any feedback, feel free to share it in the comments too.